What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. It's week 10 of the 2023 NAIA women's flag football season, and we are here to recap it for, I'm pretty sure, all teams. This is the last week of the regular season here. After this week, we got the postseason, so got conference tournaments, and then a couple weeks down the line, we have the National NAIA Women's Flag Football Tournament. And so there's definitely a lot to talk about, a lot of games that had implications on conference tournaments, so we're going to recap those. We'll do one final power rankings. We're not going to do power rankings for after the regular season, for the postseason. So this week will be the last power ranking. So we'll do that. It'll also be a good chance to talk about every team here before we head into the postseason. Now let's go ahead and hop into the first game from this week. Weber versus Keiser on April 19th, Wednesday. At the time I'm recording this, by the way, at least this segment, it is April 21st. And so let's talk about these Wednesday games, starting with this Sun Conference matchup between Keiser and Weber. Keiser now sitting at our power rankings at 3, Weber at 4. This would have been a good situation, opportunity for Weber to move up if they beat Keiser in this game. And for both of these teams, this is their second to last game of the regular season. Now, for Weber, it starts out pretty promising here. I mean, Wilson, she finds Brazier Robinson for a quick first down on the hitch route throw. That was on 2nd and 3. That would give them a first down. But a couple plays later does come down to a quick 3rd and 11 after a quick check down and a pass breakup by Lysandra Amore. And so on 3rd down, Wilson does find Hayden Roop on the slant, but she is stopped pretty short here. So that brings up 4th and 6 and a Weber punt to start the game. Now Keiser, they get this thing going right away. 2nd down here, Jasmine Roden finds Adriana Rodriguez for a first down that goes past midfield. Moving on to 3rd and 10 here, Jasmine Roden finds her favorite target, Kennedy Foster, on the out route, but Kayla Burrows does pull her flag just a little bit short here, and so it's 4th and 2 on the edge of the red zone. They're going to go for it here, and on 4th and 2, Roden finds Brennan Ramirez, the freshman, on a nice little in-route, dig route for the first in the red zone. So now they're in the red zone here. A play later, it is 2nd down here, and they do call a pass interference penalty on Weber, so they repeat 2nd down, but this time it's like 2nd and about 6 yards away from the end zone. And on 2nd down, Jasmine Roden rolls left and flips it over to Sophia Caprio for the touchdown to make it 6-0. On the extra point, Roden finds Adriana Rodriguez in the back of the end zone to give them a 7-0 lead. And by the way, their 1,000th point in program history. So there you go there, Keiser with that and the 7-point lead here. Now Weber, they take over on offense, looking to respond, but it doesn't go quite to plan here. 3rd down, Wilson tries to throw the drag route, and then that person tries to pitch it, but Robinson does get her flag pulled before she could do that. You know, just not a lot of big yardage here for Weber here. Also, you got to consider that on 2nd down, Wilson was under pressure and had to throw it away. And so, just like that, Weber goes 3 and out here. And so, before the quarter ends, Keiser does take over with about 1:12 seconds left. They are on the edge of the red zone thanks to a pretty solid return here. It's about 1st and 2 here. And so, on 1st down, Roden finds Rodriguez over the middle for first down in the red zone here. And so that's where we pick up here in the 2nd quarter in the red zone. 2nd down, Roden rolls right and throws it to Kennedy Foster, but it gets tipped and it's almost picked off here by Kayla Burrows. But fortunately enough, Kennedy Foster is basically right behind her, and she brings in this catch for a touchdown, making it 13-0. On the extra point, Roden gets sacked, so that's where the score stays for now. Now at this point, Weber, they're finding themselves in a bigger and bigger hole here, a bigger deficit, trying to get something going, but on first down here, Jade McGrain for Keiser gets a pretty big sack on Wilson. That brings up 2nd and 6. And on 2nd down, once again, the pressure gets there. Wilson throws it. It's incomplete. So that brings up 3rd and 6 here. And on 3rd down, Wilson goes deep to Caleb Burrows, but Kennedy Foster is there in coverage. And on top of that, it's overthrown anyway. So for a second drive in a row, Weber goes 3 and out. And so Keiser takes over. This time they're just past midfield with about 9 minutes 30 seconds left here. And they go ahead and call a double pass here. Roden throws it to Haley Young. Haley Young throws it back to Jasmine Roden, who then finds a wide open Kennedy Foster, who basically is like running down the left sideline here, and she sees Hayden Roop in one-on-one, jukes her out, and basically walks in to make it 19-0 there. Following that, Jasmine Roden finds Haley Young over the middle to make it 20-0 here. Haley Young going out for a pass. So there you go, there, a 20-point lead just like that. And so at this point, there's still about 9 minutes left in the second quarter, but Weber definitely needs to be moving with a bit more pace here. And so that's what they do, starting with Sam Wilson. She finds Kayla Burrows on the slant, who gives them a quick first down. Following that, 2nd down and 3 here after an out route where Wilson found Caitlin Sigmundy. She goes ahead and throws the out for a first down past midfield. They also tag on a holding penalty on Keiser, so that moves them up even more. Moving on to 2nd and 10 here, Wilson finds Caleb Burrows over the middle, who goes and gets the first down. That puts them in the red zone. Weber on the move here in the red zone, 3rd down. 3rd down after an option run and drop. Wilson goes up the seam to Caleb Burrows, who just burns her defender in one-on-one, and she goes ahead and makes it a quick 20-6 game. Extra point is no good there. And so Keiser, they still lead here by 14 with about 3:53 left, looking to potentially extend this lead. But after getting a first down here that went to Marissa Rubino, they eventually stall out, just not finding a whole ton of yardage here, and so they have to punt it. And on the punt return, Kayla Burrows, she goes ahead and fields this thing, getting a running start while doing it. Makes the first 3 tacklers miss, and then just burns down the right sideline here, accelerating using that 99 speed for a 50-yard punt return to the house for a touchdown. Weber closing it in. They make it a 20-12 game here. On the extra point, Wilson finds Kayla Burrows near the right sideline to make it a 20-13 game here. Just like that, Weber hops back into this game with 2 quick scores, one on special teams, which does end up being key. Now Keiser, they do have about a minute left when they do get the ball back, but unfortunately they are not able to get anything going. They do launch a pretty solid deep bomb into the end zone here, but Emma Balaco comes up with a big pass breakup. And so there you go, going into the third quarter, Weber only trailing by 7 points now. It's 20-13. Keiser's still leading though, and Keiser would also be starting on offense. But after getting a first down that went to Adriana Rodriguez, a couple plays later, just a couple incompletions, to be honest with you, and that brings up a 4th down and a Keiser punt. And so Weber has a chance to tie this game, or at least get another score potentially. It's about 9 minutes 30 seconds left, but this drive doesn't start out well at all. They have a drop to start on first down. On second down, Samaya Bryant has an excellent pass breakup, so that brings up 3rd down, no yardage gained yet. And on 3rd down, Wilson does throw the out route to Caitlin Sigmundy, but she gets maybe 4. This Keiser defense playing up, they go ahead and pull her flag pretty quickly here. And so Weber unfortunately goes 3 and out, just like that. And so Keiser gets the ball back with 7 minutes left, still looking obviously to build on this lead and begin to put this thing away. Let's fast forward to 3rd and 1 here. Roden throws the quick hitch to Sofia Caprio. That gives them a first down past midfield. Right after that play, Roden drops back, fires one deep down the left sideline, right in between the corner and the safety here. And Sofia Caprio brings this one in, and she does the rest. Goes 40 yards to the house for a touchdown. That puts them up 26-13. That is pretty big time there. Keiser, they would actually get 2 chances at the extra point since there was a flag thrown on the first try, and both of them would be no good. And so it stays at 26-13 for now. Now for Weber, they're once again down by 2 scores, but if they could get a score before the third quarter ends, that would be huge. There's about 4 minutes, 52 seconds left for them to do that. And so the drive once again just doesn't start well. Incomplete to start. Second down. Ends up with a check down to Bria Cam. That makes it about 3rd and 3 here. And on 3rd down, Wilson is under pressure by, I want to say it's Reagan Pellegrino. She tries to pitch it forward, but it is incomplete. And so it is 4th down. And they are still in their own quadrant, the first quadrant. And they decide to go for it on 4th and 3 here. Really needing to get something going. Trying to avoid another 3 and out here, and they go for it. And on this play, Sam Wilson lofts one deep to Caleb Burrows, who does have a step on her defender, but it is just out of reach. And so unfortunately, that is a key turnover on downs here, thanks to great defense by Keiser. And Keiser, with about 2 minutes left in only the third, start in the red zone here. And in fact, on first down, they call a PI on Weber, so that actually moves them up and repeats first down. It's about 1st and 8 here. And on 1st and 8, Jasmine Roden throws the slant to Brenna Ramirez, who's pretty much immediately stopped. That brings up 2nd down. And on 2nd down, Roden drops back, gets the ball, rips it on the slant to Ramirez, who brings in a tough, and I mean tough, all hands catch to make it 32-13. Roden putting some heat on this one there to fit it in, and it does get in there for the touchdown. Extra point is unfortunately dropped, but to be honest, basically at this point the game is over. They're up 32-13 with not much time left at all. Moving on into the 4th quarter, Weber, they do have a solid drive where they get into the red zone thanks to a huge splash play by Caleb Burrows, but unfortunately it stalls out because of penalties really killing that drive. Keiser, they would eventually put in Haley Young here, and she would throw it, but it gets tipped up at the line and caught by Jasmine Henry, who returns it for a pretty insane pick 6 to make it 32-19. So not quite done yet though, but Keiser, they go ahead and keep faith in their young quarterback, keep Haley Young in, and she leads a pretty long drive down the field here. Throws towards the left corner to Adriana Cavallati to end that drive to make it 38-19. She then finds Brenna Ramirez on the extra point, making it 39-19, and that would be your final score here. Keiser winning 39-19. Had, I guess, a little bit of a scare. They amassed a 20-point lead in the second quarter. Weber cut that down real quick with a quick touchdown and a punt return for a touchdown, which, you really don't see every day. But eventually, Keiser played great defense in the second half. I felt really closed them out here and got the job done. Player of the game for me has to be Jasmine Roden. She, as usual, was very much on point. 25 of 33 here, 221 yards, 5 passing touchdowns, no turnovers here. Haley Young, like I said, did get in 8 of 10, 71 yards, had that 1 pick 6, but came back with a touchdown to really put that out of reach. As far as receivers go, Sofia Caprio is your leading receiver, 5 receptions, at least with yards, 73 receiving yards, 2 receiving touchdowns. Kennedy Foster right behind her with 6 receptions, 64 yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. Adriana Rodriguez and Brenna Ramirez were also both busy. Rodriguez with 7 receptions, 57 yards. Ramirez, 8 receptions, 41 yards, and a touchdown, as they were extremely productive here. Defensively, though, they did a great job. Alexis Santiago led the squad with 4 tackles in this one. Now for Weber, they just stalled out pretty badly on offense. Couldn't really get too much going here. Sam Wilson, a solid 18 of 31 for 132 yards and a touchdown with a long of 40 yards there. Her lead receiver, as usual, Caleb Burrows, 7 receptions 86 yards and a touchdown. Caleb Burrows also led in tackles, 8 tackles, a tackle for a loss, by the way. Then Breasia Robinson right behind her with 7 tackles and 1 pass breakup. And then you also had that Jasmine Henry pick 6. But for Weber, I mean, they just stalled out real badly at times. I mean, there was a part in, I want to say, between the first and second quarter where they had 2 3-and-outs in a row. They had a 3-and-out in the third quarter when they could have potentially cut this lead or even tie it at that point. I mean, they really struggled in the second half, I would say, offensively. But part of that is credit to Keiser playing great defense. But both teams have one more game left this week, which we will talk about later in this episode. Now, moving on to Thomas versus Warner here. Thomas, coming off a pretty heartbreaking loss to St. Thomas last week, had their chance to win it, multiple chances, just couldn't come up with a touchdown there, losing in a 1-point loss. Warner on the other side, losing pretty big to Keiser, losing by 50 plus. Also, without their starting quarterback, Madison Tingen, and it might look like they were without Jenna Marrero as well. I could be wrong. I honestly could be wrong, but for sure without Madison Tingen. So trying to find answers here at the quarterback position following a pretty ugly loss and a drop in our power rankings. So let's go ahead and hop into this game. By the way, senior night for Thomas here. This is their last regular season home game. They will be hosting the Sun Conference tournament, so it's not their last home game yet. But they only had one senior on the night who will be leaving. That is Brittany Delva. She will be getting her master's, so congratulations to her. That's awesome. She's been a huge part of this Thomas squad, a mainstay, a cornerstone. And so obviously Thomas looking to not only bounce back, but get a good dub, for their lone senior here. And so let's go ahead and hop into this game. Andrea Rodriguez getting the start for Warner. And on the first play, she takes a shot downfield. But it's not great. It's in one-on-one, but Giselle Jones wins that one-on-one. Gets the jump ball and the interception. Gets a solid return here just past midfield. And so that's where Thomas takes over with 11 minutes, 32 seconds left here. In the first quarter. And so here we go. Alexa Wilson in at quarterback, getting the start. She goes ahead and gets it started with a quick check down to Kiana Cole. That gives them about 4 yards. On second down, though, Wilson throws the swing route to a Cole, who gets them into the red zone, cooking to start this game. Following that, Wilson throws the curl to Giselle Jones, who makes the first player miss and almost scores on this one, but is stopped basically at the 1. And so let's fast forward to third down. There is a drop on second down, so it doesn't matter. Kiana Cole goes in at quarterback. Janae Scott checks in. You know what it is, a Cole-Scott combo. A Cole runs the option and then eventually just runs it in, making it 6-0 there. Extra point, unfortunately, is dropped, but for now, Thomas has the 6-0 lead. And so here we go. Andre Rodriguez looking to bounce back here. On the first play, tries to throw it, but it gets batted up here and picked off by Janae Scott, and she takes it to the house to make it 12-0 here. Kind of crazy. Two games this week that started, or that had, no, I guess not started, but that had a rusher bat down a ball to themselves and then return it to the house. That doesn't happen every day, and it's just a very interesting coincidence since these games happen basically one after the other. But regardless, Thomas takes the 12-0 lead on the extra point. Cole, she goes ahead, evades the rusher, and then walks it in, making it 13-0 just like that. Warner already struggling, 2 interceptions to start on 2 attempts. And so 8 minutes, 40 seconds left. On first down, there's a miscommunication. That's incomplete. Second down here, pressure by Janae Scott forces a throwaway, basically. Third down here, about 3rd and 6, Rodriguez tries to find Cynthia Holmes, but she is stopped pretty short here. And so Warner, they go 3 and out. Only one completion so far on their third drive of the game, just really struggling. But Thomas, they would get the ball, and who's not struggling? It's Alexa Wilson, as she throws a dot up the seam to the lone senior, Brittany Delva, who makes a great catch that gets them past the midfield for about a 20-plus yard play. Following that, Wilson throws the slant to Kiara Knight. It's a little high, but she makes a great catch and comes down with it. That would put them in the red zone just like that. Following that, Wilson catches the high snap and then finds Giselle Jones, who's just wide open, who high points this ball, has to catch it a little bit high on some of these throws, but still on the money. She catches it, makes it a 19-0 game. Following that, a Cole goes in at quarterback, weaves her way into the end zone. That makes it 22-0. This game already looking to be out of hand only in the first quarter. Now, let's go to Warner. They're just trying to get something going here. Rodriguez, she finds Amiri Logan on the slant. And actually, that would be the first completion. The last completion was not a completion. It was too far for Holmes, so there you go. So this would be the first completion of the game. That makes it 2nd and 1. Following that, Rodriguez throws the slant to Holmes, who makes a physical catch for the first down, but they also throw a holding penalty on Thomas, so that moves them up a little bit. Following that, Rodriguez tries to go over the middle here, but Janae Scott looks like she makes a one-handed interception, sensational, and gets a solid return here. So that's another interception here. 3 interceptions by Warner in this first quarter. And so Thomas, they take over past midfield with about 3 minutes 56 seconds left. Wilson goes deep down the left sideline, finds Giselle Jones, who has a lot of separation, and she goes ahead and puts Thomas in the red zone. Not quite able to score just yet, but in the red zone regardless. And so fast forwarding to 3rd down here, Alexa Wilson drops back, threads the needle, finds Nakara Brown. She makes it a 26-0 game. Extra point is no good, but honestly, at this point, this game is already over. I mean, I might as well finish out the first quarter. Warner, they would get the ball with about 1:57 seconds left. A big Jada Reese sack would put them in a tough spot where they would eventually punt it and go 3 and out. And yeah, I mean, that's really the end of the game. Warner just really struggling. I'll go ahead and recap what happened with some of these scores. In the second quarter, a Cole in at quarterback lofts one up right over the defender to Kiara Knight for a 3-yard touchdown. That makes it 32-0. Following that, still in the second quarter, Alexa Wilson finds Denisia Turner wide open down the left sideline, who makes a 38-0. I think that's her first career touchdown at home. Could be wrong, though. But on the extra point, Wilson finds Janae Scott. She makes it 39-0. So there you go there. That basically ends the first half. At this point, Thomas, I mean, they're subbing everyone in. Everyone's getting into this game. They're trying a lot of different combos. Pretty much everyone that can play is playing. And so to start the second half, Shelby Hartley would actually go ahead and check in here. And then you do have a number of other players that would check in as well at different spots. But basically, the result would stay the same. In the fourth quarter, though, Shelby Hartley does find Denisia Turner once more on the slant. That makes it 45-0, and that is your final score. Thomas just absolutely obliterates Warner, 45-0 here. It is not close at all. Warner just a lot of struggles on offense. We'll talk about it in the power ranking section. I think that'd be the most appropriate, but definitely some red alarms going off, red flags going up too. So there you go there. But let's talk about stats here. Thomas, let's start with Alexa Wilson. Very good game. 15 of 19, 180 yards, 3 touchdowns. Did throw 1 interception, but 15 of 19 and 3 touchdowns. Never a bad day. Shelby Hartley, who got to start most of the second half. 15 of 26, 118 yards and a touchdown. Kiana Cole also had that 1 passing touchdown like I mentioned there. Also, Cole had a rushing touchdown in this game as well. Now, as far as receivers go, Denisia Turner was actually your lead receiver in this one, getting a lot of the playing time after the first quarter. 6 receptions, 69 yards, 2 touchdowns, looking like a really good prospect for them that just adds depth to this already great squad there. Right behind her, though, Giselle Jones, who was cooking, only 3 receptions, but 1 for 57 yards and a touchdown. Kiara Knight had a touchdown, 18 yards. Nakara Brown also had a touchdown. Looking at defense, though, Janae Scott had a game once more. 5 tackles, 1 sack, 2 interceptions. Also, one of those interceptions was a pick 6 there. Giselle Jones also had a pick. Aaliyah Woods had 2 interceptions, I believe both in the second half, I want to say, but she played great as well. So there you go there. Player of the game, I think it has to go to Janae Scott. For me, also right now, she's probably my leader for best linebacker in the country. But, I mean, in this game, 5 tackles, 1 sack, 2 picks, and a pick 6. That's big time. You know, that's huge. She has been big time for Thomas all season long there. So, big props to her. And, honestly, this Thomas defense for having an excellent finale to the regular season. Now, looking to Warner here, not even a lot of pass attempts, really. Andrea Rodriguez had the majority of the pass attempts, only 15, only completed 4 passes for 25 yards, 3 interceptions, really struggling there. Courtney Cromer would get in. She only had 3 attempts, but would have 2 interceptions there. Shay Crooks would also get in. She'd have 6 attempts, but only completed 2 passes. All together here, Warner completed 7 passes in this game, which is just horrible, honestly. And obviously it's against a great Thomas defense, but that's just a tough go there. As far as receiving goes, the leader was Cynthia Holmes, 1 reception, 11 yards. Nobody had more than 1 reception. I don't know if these stats are right. They definitely could be wrong. Oh, sorry, they are right. Gianna Wong, she had 3 receptions and 14 yards there. But other than her, nobody else got more than 1. On defense, though, Cynthia Holmes, 6 tackles, had that 1 interception. Lexi Mosley also had 5 tackles there. So there you go there. Thomas winning their season finale here. Warner, they have 1 more game against Weber, which they need to win to make the Sun Conference tournament, I'm pretty sure there. So there you go there. Alright, now let's move on to St. Thomas versus Florida Memorial, the battle for Miami Gardens. They're always an intense game, always a close one. The first game of the season was pretty close there, but St. Thomas would prevail in that one. And I also want to say this was senior night for St. Thomas here. And I do want to make one note here. Loved seeing Holly Neer get walked out by her receivers and Tyler Bryant, Jada Graham, Kaylee Miller, and Shayla Tran on senior night. Absolutely love that. Holly Neer has been huge for this program here. Now, I do want to throw this out there. I probably should have said it at the beginning of the episode, just because, you know, a player is a senior and graduating doesn't mean they've run out of eligibility. And so we'll probably come back to that later at the end of the season or at the beginning of next season or next season, to be honest with you. We'll come back to that once we get all those confirmations. But let's go ahead and hop into this one here. St. Thomas starts with the ball. Holly Neer finds Kaylee Miller for a first down to get them started here. But a couple incompletions in, it brings up 4th down here, and they go for it. 4th down near midfield. Holly Neer evades the pressure before going over the middle on the post route to Rayona Baker, who makes an excellent catch for a first down past midfield. But 3 incompletions in a row brings up 4th down again. And so 4th down here goes over the top on the seam to Rayona Baker, and it looks like it's going for a big-time 35-yard touchdown, but a flag is thrown on St. Thomas, which takes that off the board here. And so it's still 4th down, and they still go for it. A little surprising here. And so she throws it deep once more to Kaylee Miller, but it is slightly overthrown. So that's a turnover on downs there. And so Florida Memorial, they take over. Eunice Montgomery here at quarterback to start. And on the first play, throws a pretty bad interception to Maya Cayon, pretty much directly to her. And so she gets the easy interception. And just like that, St. Thomas gets the ball back. So Here we go, second down. Near finds Kaylee Miller on the drag route. She gets him a first down past midfield. Fast forwarding to third down here. Near throws the corner route to fellow senior Carissa Dolce for a big time 30+ yard touchdown. That gives them a 6-0 lead there. On the extra point, Near goes over the middle, and it bounces around here basically through a couple defenders, to be honest with you, but is eventually caught by Carissa Dolce in the back of the end zone here. And as the announcers said, they said here, someone check her hands because she got magnets in them. That gives St. Thomas a 7-0 lead just like that. Now Florida Memorial making a change at quarterback. Haley Stanton now in at quarterback. After throwing an incompletion, she goes ahead and throws an out route to Amelia Smith, who makes the first defender miss and then burns down the left sideline and takes it 66 yards to the house to make it 7-6 here. I mean, Tashumba Washington had her right there and just missed. And then from there on, I mean, she just burnt her way down to the house using that 99 speed. So, not quite tying it up, pending this extra point here, but on this extra point, Haley Stanton forced to scramble here, and her flag is pulled short by Miranda Fairdes, so that is no good. But Florida Memorial on the board here. St. Thomas, though, still with the lead, 7-6. Now, here she would find Kayla Alvarez on the hitch route. That'd give them a first down here, and that would basically end the first quarter. Fast forwarding to third down here in the second quarter. Near throws it. The ball is tipped up once again and caught by Carissa Dolce for a solid gain, but not quite a first down just yet here. So it's 4th and 2 here. They're going for it. They go ahead and call a direct snap to the running back Dominique Parks, but it looks like the snap is a little off as she does bobble it just for a half second, but that's enough for the rusher, which I believe is Deja Fanning, to go ahead and pull her flag way short of the first down. And so that's a turnover on downs here. Just like that, Florida Memorial with a chance to take the lead. And so to start, Haley Stanton, she goes ahead and scrambles for the first down past midfield. Following that, Stanton throws the curl route to Alexa Nelson here. Couple plays in. That would be short though, and it would be 4th and 10. And so on 4th down, obviously Flomo going for it. Stanton looking for a receiver, scanning here, really trying to keep her eyes downfield, but no one just pops open. And so she eventually has to run it, and she is stopped short. And so there you go there. Now, St. Thomas, they would go on offense here, and it would get a little shaky here. Holly Neer almost throwing 2 picks here, but fortunately both of them were dropped. And so let's just go to third down. On third down, Neer drops back, but she is sacked by Deja Fanning, which is huge. That forces 4th down and a punt. Now, a couple plays into this drive, Stanton, she goes deep here, but Tashumba Washington is there, closes in on this really quickly. It looked like the play might have been there, but Washington reads this all the way and uses that closing speed to go ahead and intercept this pass here. And so here we go, second quarter still. St. Thomas still looking to extend this lead right before halftime here. And this is what they do. Second down, Near finds Kaylee Miller on the drag, who brings in the pass, but also kind of gets laid out. And so that is a penalty, obviously. And so that goes for a first down past midfield. Now, after some penalties basically on both sides here, a couple plays in, Near eventually finds Kaylee Miller on the slant, who makes a couple people miss and gets St. Thomas into the red zone. Now, in the red zone, like I said, looking to score. They call an end around to Jada Graham, who gets some solid yards on this gain here. And she kind of runs over a defender here, looking to make a statement. And it's second down. It looks like there's no flag here, but then St. Thomas goes to timeout, and then it looks like there's a flag. The refs call a penalty on St. Thomas, and so that actually moves them back. So that's, a little interesting. And so here we go, second down, obviously moved back a bit. It's about 35 seconds left here. Near drops back, throws the spot route right over the middle of the field to Graham. That goes for about 5, so she gets those yardage back. And then on second down, Near throws one to the back of the end zone for a big time Jada Graham touchdown to make it 12-6 here. So Jada Graham scoring anyways on this drive. On the extra point though, they're going for 2. Near drops back, throws the quick out to Dominique Parks, the freshman, on the 2-point conversion. She brings it in. That makes it a 14-6 game going into the second half. Now, I'm not even gonna lie, in the third quarter, nothing really happens here. Florida Memorial does get past midfield thanks to Haley Stanton scramble, but they eventually stall out. St. Thomas, they do get the ball as well, and they do get to the edge of the end zone, but they stall out as well. So turnover on down. So we're fast forwarding here to the fourth quarter where Florida Memorial has the ball. Let's go to 4th and 2 here. Haley Stanton makes Leilani Neves here miss and runs it not into the end zone but into the red zone, so setting up a potential Florida Memorial touchdown, which would be huge. Unfortunately, she goes ahead and has to check down 2 passes to the flat. That goes for minimal yardage, so that brings up 3rd down here. And on 3rd, Stanton aims for the left corner, looking to throw a jump ball here in 1-on-1, but Tyler Bryant makes a tough pass breakup, almost intercepts this one. Regardless, it's not an FMU touchdown because this one looked like it was about to be on the money for one. And so that brings up 4th down here. On 4th down, Stanton, she is under pressure and she has to check it down to Dejanay Harris, who goes ahead and gets her flag pulled away short, and so that's a turnover on downs. So St. Thomas with the ball back, still up by a solid 8 points here, but looking to put some distance between them and Flomo here. Holly Neer gets the 1st down to Parks there, but following that, she goes deep, trying to take a shot here and trying to go for the knockout blow, but Ronisha Gibbs makes the interception, and she makes the first couple players miss and almost returns this to the house. The only person standing between her and the end zone is Holly Neer, and she is just barely able to get a key flagpole here, which saves that from becoming a pick 6. And so here we go. Flomo, they go ahead and take over in the red zone thanks to a great return here. Stanton scrambles right, gets about 5 yards. 2nd down here, Haley Stanton throws the curl to Johnson, Erica Johnson, who gets a solid gain of about 5. That brings up 3rd down here. Out of a bunch formation, Stanton throws a good pass to Amelia Smith, who just beats her defender to the end zone and scores, making it 14-12. Right here, Florida Memorial, they decide to go for 2. Regardless, can't go wrong with this. If they get it, they tie it. If not, they're still down by 1 score. Now, here on the extra point, Stanton avoids Lanai Leon on the rush and then throws it into the end zone, but Tyler Bryant gets a key interception and then kind of throws it. So I don't know if it counts as an interception, but it's an interception. And so for now, that preserves the game here and keeps St. Thomas with the lead, which is key. And so at this point, St. Thomas, to get the ball back, they are looking to run out this clock. So they go ahead and put in Jada Graham in at quarterback. She scrambles and gets the 1st down there. And then they put Neher back in at quarterback after the 2-minute warning. She completes 2 short passes to Kaylee Miller and Kayla Alvarez. That brings up 3rd down here. And on 3rd down, Neher goes over the middle to Jada Graham. She gets a key 1st down. That goes past midfield as St. Thomas is just milking this clock while Flomo is using the last timeouts here. They go ahead and put Graham back in, and she throws it, interesting enough, and it's almost picked, but it is fortunately caught by her player off the tip, it looks like. And so that brings up 2nd down here. On 2nd down, once again, she's throwing it, and she throws this one away under pressure. And so that brings up 3rd down, where they go ahead and bring back Holly Neer, and she throws the drag to Kayla Alvarez. That goes for a solid gain of 10 or so yards. That makes it 4th and 7. Now, 4th and 7 here. They go ahead and call an end around to Jada Graham, who spins, and it looks like she's reaching out for the 1st down, but there is a penalty thrown on St. Thomas here, and I guess she was called down short as they decline it. And so Flomo, they take over. No timeouts. There's about 7.7 seconds left. They start this one out with a quick out to Alexis Nelson, that goes for about 4. That brings up 2nd and 3 here. Stanton throws it, but it's tipped by Maya Cayon. So that brings up 3rd down with about a second left here. So this would be the last play. And on 3rd down, St. Thomas sends 2, not allowing Haley Stanton to get her receivers downfield. She tries to throw it. It is incomplete. And so just like that, St. Thomas survives 14-12 here in the Battle of Miami Gardens. Player of the game, I would have to say, is Holly Neer. 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. Was tough this entire game. Got them key first downs and obviously touchdowns. That would go a long way for St. Thomas here, as this was a very close game. Florida Memorial, unfortunately, just could not get this one done. And it's another season where they haven't won a game in their conference yet, but they've gotten really close. If you look at their games here against St. Thomas both times, Weber, Warner, Keiser at the beginning of the season, I mean, they were right there to upset a number of teams throughout this season here, and so that's obviously a good sign of growth, being within a score in a lot of those games. So there you go. Final stats for Florida Memorial: Haley Stanton, who got the majority of the snaps, basically 16 of 26, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Not a bad game at all. Amelia Smith, the lead receiver, 3 passes, 73 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Michaela Sampson and Oriana Brooks with 7 tackles each, but unfortunately short in their season finale. Now, St. Thomas, they do have one more game, though, as their season is not over yet. Regular season, that is, as they do play Keiser on Saturday. So we'll talk about that later in this episode. Now, we do have some KCAC action here. Not super close games. So, I mean, we have Midland versus Cottey here. I believe this was also Midland's senior night as well. Michaela Nunez, their starting quarterback, a senior. Casey Thompson, their linebacker receiver, a senior. And then Addison Johnson, a senior as well. I believe all 3 of them were part of this inaugural team, so they've been around for a very long time here. They might have one more season left of eligibility. We'll have to see about that, like I said. But this game, I mean, well, let me just recap this real quick. Midland would amass a 13-point lead in the second quarter after a scoreless first, thanks to Michaela Nunez first finding Casey Thompson to end a long drive on a nice 5-yard out. And then Olivia Dominguez-Millsap will get a pick 6 to get that other score. Following that, there was basically a 1-hour weather delay. So that was tough, but coming out of that, Nunez would then score a quick 4-yard rushing touchdown, making it 19-0 going into halftime. And then I believe there was a scoreless third. Nunez would score another 4-yard touchdown, rushing touchdown in the fourth. That would make it 26-0, which was your final score, 26-0. Player of the game, I think, would have to be Michaela Nunez, 203 passing yards, 48 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. Cottey, not doing too bad defensively. They had 2 quarters where they didn't allow any scores, which was pretty big. Even then, only lost 26-0. Obviously, that 0 is pretty big here. Some struggles on offense definitely continued there, including a pick 6, which did contribute to that. So technically, the defense only allowed like 3 scores. So there you go there. But coming up just a little bit short. Now, Ottawa versus St. Mary. This one was not close at all. Ottawa wins big, 58-0. Player of the game, as usual. I mean, Madison Carrera. 13 of 22, 145 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 46 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. That's 6 total touchdowns on the day. I think the bigger headline here, even though she did win player of the game, was that in the third quarter, Ottawa intercepted and returned for a touchdown. 3 straight passes on 3 straight drives. So that's 3 straight pick 6s there. So Nina Grave Peralta got one, and then 2 of those came by Jacani Washington in only that third quarter. So just a bad game for the Spires. Again, they're obviously rebuilding here. They'll be losing 2 seniors, I believe, in Johnson and Shannon Cooley. So that's just kind of a tough go here. But let's look at some of these other stats. Jocelyn Camacho, 2 receptions, 46 yards, 2 touchdowns. For St. Mary, NAIA Hooks, just not a great day. 14 of 29, 82 yards, 4 interceptions. 3 of those picks coming in the third quarter alone, all of them being pick sixes there. And then Jerica Johnson led the team, 8 receptions, 35 yards. So there you go. Okay, now moving on to the Saturday games from April 22nd. Let's start with some Sun Conference action. Weber versus Warner here. Weber moving ahead of Warner, if you remember correctly there. I believe Weber is now 5, Warner dropping to 6 after a really tough loss to Keiser last week, and as well as to Thomas this same week as well. And so looking to get something here. They gotta win this game to make it to the Sun Conference tournament. And so here we go. Warner starts with the ball. Andrea Rodriguez in at quarterback, the freshman here. Fast forward to third down real quick here. Rodriguez finds Trinity Karen over the middle on a little spot route for a first down. But once again, it does come down to a third down situation, 3rd and 1, so very short yardage here, and they go ahead and direct snap it to Gianna Huang, who goes ahead and gets the first down past midfield. Moving on here, just a play, fast forwarding to 2nd down. Rodriguez drops back, tries to throw it, but Jasmine Henry tips up the ball, deflects it, and then picks it off herself and returns it to the house for a pick 6, giving Weber the early 6-0 lead. And then on the extra point, they go ahead and direct snap it to Jasmine Henry, who makes the rusher miss before walking it in, making it 7-0. And so very interesting how many times that has happened this week. That is the 3rd time a rusher tipped up a ball and intercepted it herself for a touchdown this week. And so just really curious, don't see that every day. I'd have 3 nickels if I had a nickel every time it happened. So there you go, which is still kind of weird. But anyways, back to the game here. Warner trying out kind of a new strategy, going with a 2 quarterback system. It looks like they have subbed in Courtney Cromer, so both Rodriguez and Cromer are out there. Rodriguez still getting the snaps though. First down is a pass breakup. 2nd down, they try the double pass here to Cromer, and she completes it to Cynthia Holmes, who basically runs across the field for this one before toe tapping it in. So there you go. That goes for a first down. Following that, let's move on to 2nd down here real quick. On 2nd down, Rodriguez looks like she throws the slant to Amiri Logan, which is good for a solid gain here before she pitches it to Andre Castillo, who gets a pretty healthy chunk of yardage to put them on the edge of the red zone. Regardless, it is first down. Moving on to 2nd and 1 here. They go ahead. Rodriguez goes ahead and checks it down to Allison Mangiati, who goes ahead and gets the first down here in the red zone. So there you go there. Now back to 3rd down once more on this drive here in the red zone. Here's what happens. They go ahead and try to throw it to Anna Vincenzini, and it looks like Emma Blanco gets a pretty clean pass breakup, but they do throw a PI on her, so there you go, and they repeat 3rd down. And on 3rd down again, they throw the slant, I want to say, to Amiri Logan, but they call a holding call on Weber, which is a little, maybe if she was hooking her from the back, which is probably it, honestly, because that's all I could have seen there, then that would have counted. But regardless, it's again a repeat of 3rd down. And on 3rd down, I mean, they're basically up on the goal line. They just direct snap it to Huang, and she walks it in for a touchdown there. And then on the extra point, Rodriguez finds Vincenzini on the slant. That makes it 7-7. Now, right before the end of the first quarter, Weber, they do get 2 pretty big first downs. The first one is a check down pass to Denise Garcia. The second one would be Sam Wilson, that is, scrambling past midfield. And so there you go. This is actually also the first offensive drive for Weber as well, as that continues here in the second quarter. But in the second quarter, they do find themselves in a fourth down situation. 4th and inches, though. It's really short. And on this fourth down, Wilson just goes ahead and takes it herself, scrambles for that first down. That puts them in the red zone. Fast forwarding here to third down and 2. I should say this about the second down play here. They go ahead and call a whip route to Caitlin Sigmundy, and then she pitches it to Malia Domingo, who is back after a pretty long absence, I want to say, and that goes for a solid 7. And so that sets up 3rd and 2 here. And on 3rd and 2, Wilson throws to the right corner here. Just an excellent throw and a great catch by Hayden Roop, who brings this one in, toe taps it in, and just like that, Weber retakes the lead 13-7. On the extra point, Wilson rolls left and finds Breasia Robinson for the extra point to make it 14-7. Now, Warner back on offense here. It looks like Rodriguez is still in at quarterback here. But let's go ahead and fast forward to second down. There's a double pass, but Shay Crooks is now the second quarterback in instead of Courtney Cromer. And so she actually finds Andrea Castillo over the middle for a good throw and a first down, and more on this 10-yard-ish gain. Fast forwarding on to 3rd and 1 here. It's 3rd and 1 short. You probably could guess what Warner is going to do here. They direct snap it to Gianna Huang, and she goes ahead and gets that first down past midfield like clockwork again. But once again, it comes down to a 3rd and 1 situation later on in this drive. And once again, you could probably guess, because it's like the 4th or 5th time they've done this. They direct snap it to Huang, who gets it in for a first down in the red zone. It might have looked like she was a little short, I'm not going to lie, but, obviously we'll trust the refs on that one. But, unfortunately, Warner, they're in the red zone here, and they do stall out just a little bit, so it does come down to a 4th down play. And on 4th down, Rodriguez aims for Holmes in the back of the end zone, but this one is way overthrown, right over her head. So that is a turnover on downs there. And so Weber, they would get a chance to potentially extend their lead, but unfortunately they basically go 3 and out. Couple incompletions and honestly plays the one for no yardage would contribute to that. So Warner would get the ball back here with some time to cook. And so here's what happens. On first down, Rodriguez tries to throw it over the middle, but this one is just intercepted by Breasia Robinson, who also takes this one past midfield here. And so Weber would actually get the ball back with a little bit left here in the second quarter. And here's how that goes down. Fast forwarding to 4th down here. They are on the edge of the red zone. Here's what happens. Wilson rolls out right and finds Kayla Burrows, who gets them the first down in the red zone. Following that, Wilson, under pressure, tries to loft one into the end zone, but it is incomplete. But there is a penalty on Warner, and so that does move up Weber here, repeating first down. And on this second first down play in the red zone, Wilson rolls left, and she finds a wide open Kayla Burrows to make it 20-7. Extra point is no good, but Weber will take this lead 20-7 going into the second half. Now Weber would actually start with the ball here in the third quarter, and it would actually be, Kayla Burrows would go ahead and make a catch on the hitch route, but also a hold on Warner would give them their first down of this drive and of the second half. Following that, Sam Wilson drops back, throws an out route to Denise Garcia, who then pitches it to Kayla Burrows, who kind of takes a hit here. And so that's another flag on Warner. And so that's a first down past midfield. Some really bad penalties, to be honest with you, kind of killing Warner here. But let's go ahead and go to 3rd down and 7 here. Here's what happens. Wilson drops back. Caitlin Sigmundy over the middle. Does just a very smart football move here. Kind of cuts her route off short so that she could just lie in a soft spot in this Warner zone defense. Goes ahead, makes the catch, and gets them a first down in the red zone. Great job by Caitlin Sigmundy finding that soft spot in the zone right over the middle to bring in a tough catch for that first down. Moving on to second down here, Wilson with kind of a lot of time to throw here, throws it deep up the seam to Caleb Burrows, who's wide open, and brings it in, making it 26-7. Following that on the extra point, Wilson rolls out right and finds Burrows again on the extra point to make it 27-7 here. Warner just not looking great, honestly, on offense once more, and then defensively, not exactly doing the greatest job either. Now, not too much more would happen here in the third quarter. Warner will get the ball back. They would go 3 and out, partially and thanks to a big-time Jada Dillard sack that would kind of kill that one. And then Weber would get the ball. They would get a first down here, but unfortunately they would try going for it on fourth down and would not get it, so that would be a turnover on downs. And so right before this third quarter ends, Warner does have a chance to potentially score or at least get something going here, but on third down and 5 here, Warner Rodriguez, she tries to go deep, but this play just seems out of sync, and this one is pretty easily intercepted by Caitlin Sigmundy, who closes this third quarter and also gives Weber the ball back as the struggles continue for Warner. But speaking of offensive struggles, Weber has some of those too, as they do get a first down past midfield. Caitlin Sigmundy catching this curl route and spinning for a first down, but it does come down to a 4th and 3 situation here. Wilson tries to go over the middle, but this one is picked off by Cynthia Holmes, and luckily it's not returned to the house. They are able to pull her flag here, but it is a pick, and that is another missed opportunity. Now, this is a chance for Warner to get on the board. Now, maybe they won't be able to win this game, but you kind of figure you'd rather try to get something here before don't play another game after this, since they are pretty much out of the postseason tournament. But they do get a first down past midfield thanks to a penalty on a slant. Also on a slant to Holmes as well, but they add on a penalty, so there you go. And then on 3rd and 1, Crooks, she finds Holmes again on the drag route. That puts them in the red zone. And then 3rd down here, Crooks just basically runs it left for a touchdown here. A nice little scramble to make it 27-13. At this point, Weber, they get the ball back, and then they just run out the clock, get a couple first downs, and this one is over. Weber beats Warner 27-13. Player of the game for me has to be Caleb Burrows. She had 2 receiving touchdowns, played great defense as usual. And with this one, I mentioned it kind of earlier here, I believe Weber just kicked out Warner from the Sun Conference postseason tournament. Now, I'm going to talk more about this here in the power rankings, because I do want to see all the games end real quick before we see what happens. But we'll talk more about Warner and Weber in the power rankings, since this was their season finale. So there you go. Now let's go ahead and talk about some KCAC action here. Kansas Wesleyan versus Cottey. Cottey traveling to Kansas Wesleyan here. This would be Cottey's last regular season game, and for Kansas Wesleyan, this is the first of a doubleheader, which would then end their season. So they play one against Cottey today here on Saturday, and then they will be playing again on Sunday versus St. Mary, which I believe is a makeup game, if I'm not mistaken there. But let's go ahead and talk about this game here. To start, Kansas Wesleyan actually goes 3 and out, so Cottey will get the ball on offense to go here. And Jennifer Haberstock, the senior, is getting the start here. And they have a pretty promising drive, get past midfield here. But after an overthrown ball by Maya Carullo, who goes back in, it's 4th and 21. And so they go ahead and sub back in Haberstock, which is interesting. And she avoids the rusher, but unfortunately just runs out of time and checks it down to Maya Karula, who does her best but is stopped short by Alexi Marquez. So that is a turnover on downs. Following that here, Kansas Wesleyan gets the ball. Let's say, I think it's second down here. Brianna Hernandez Silva scrambles left and finds Kieran. I think it's DeQuee. I've been saying DeCure, and nobody has. I don't know. Nobody has said anything about it. But they find Kieran here, who goes ahead and weaves in and out of a bunch of defenders, and then burns the defense down the left sideline for a huge 40-ish yard touchdown here. Then Brianna Hernandez Silva runs it in for the extra point, making it 7-0. I'm just gonna call her Kieran, and then I'm gonna ask about that later because, like I said, I feel like I might have been saying her name wrong, which I definitely apologize for if I am. But back to the game here, Cottey, they're back on offense here. It comes down to a 4th and 2 situation, still in the first quadrant here. They run a bunch formation, and they just run Haberstock right up the middle. She gets the first down. But unfortunately, they do kind of stall out here. Just a couple really short throws that don't go for much yardage here, and so they are forced to punt it. But Kansas Wesleyan, they're not able to do too much either here, as they basically go 3 and out and punt it as well. A penalty thrown after a Brianna Hernandez Silva scramble would kind of kill that drive. But it does get better for Cottey, as they also have to punt it thanks to a second down sack by Layla Casillan, who has really come on lately. So there you go. So Cottey goes 3 and out here, and so let's go ahead and hop into the second quarter where things pick up just a little bit here. But it's 3rd down here in the second quarter. Kansas Wesleyan with the ball. Brianna Hernandez Silva, the senior quarterback, here in. She goes ahead and runs a QB designed run, cuts this one up the middle, making a defender miss for a first down past midfield. Following that, Brianna Hernandez Silva scrambles right, kind of freestyles here as the play does kind of come apart, but she finds a wide open Angel Woman who jukes and then draws a holding penalty, which is thrown on Cottey, which puts Kansas Wesleyan in the red zone. Now, on first down, there is a pass interference call thrown on Cottey, and so Kansas Wesleyan, they have another chance at this thing. It's first down again. Here's what happens. Brianna Hernandez Silva gets a snap, evades a defender, and then walks it in, making it 13-0. Extra point is no good. And so there you go there. Cottey looking to get something going. Started out pretty promising here, at least on defense. But offensively, they've kind of just let down their side of the bargain so far. And things just don't get better, as it does come down to a 4th and 1 situation here. They decide to go for it, which I'm not mad at. You got to be aggressive at this point, especially with the record that you have in. They try to throw the check down pass to Kenzie Murdoch, but Alexis Jimenez just makes an excellent pass breakup, honestly. Great play, and forces a turnover on downs. And so, just like that, Kansas Wesleyan, they start in the red zone. And here is what happens on the first play, first down. Hernandez Silva scrambles right before just lofting one deep to Angel Roman, who does get wide open here, and she makes it a 19-0 lead. Then once again, Brianna Hernandez Silva, she goes right before lofting another pass here, this time to Angel Alvarez to make it 20-0. So Kansas Wesleyan with a pretty commanding lead here. Now Cottey, they go back on offense. They do get a first down thanks to an out to Shamies Lee here, but once again, they are just not able to get a lot of yardage, as Kansas Wesleyan is not allowing anything deep. And so it brings up 4th and 10, and they have to punt it. And so Kansas Wesleyan, they're on offense here. Here is what happens. 3rd and 3 here. Hernandez Silva scrambles past midfield, then laterals it to Jasmine Whitfield, who gives them a couple more yardage here. But regardless, it's a first down. Moving on to second down here, Hernandez Silva looks like she's trying to throw either the out route or a curl route here, but Shamies Lee jumps this one for a huge interception. And if it wasn't for Brianna Hernandez Silva, probably could have took it to the house, as she is stopped short just past midfield here. But the struggles for this Cottey offense continues. Carilla in at quarterback. It looks like she's trying to throw the post here to Angie Cruz, but Angel Roman jumps this route for a big-time interception. So they basically just trade picks here. And so Kansas Wesleyan gets the ball with about a minute 12 seconds left here. And here's what happens. Second down, Brianna Hernandez Silva throws it to the flat to Kieran here, who goes and makes a defender miss and gets them past midfield. But 2nd and 7 here. There are 2 straight incompletions for Kansas Wesleyan, which actually brings up 4th and 7. And so key 4th down and 7 here. Hernandez Silva evades the rusher and then scrambles for the first down to put them in the red zone. And then on the next play here, 1st down in the red zone, Hernandez Silva just throws it up the seam to Angel Roman, who is wide open. It looks like there was some confusion here as Seamus Lee got caught guarding 2 players, and Roman happened to be the one that she had to leave open. And so she grabs this touchdown, making it 26-0. Hernandez Silva actually makes this one 27-0 by finding Kieran here on the drag route. At this point, the game is over, but I'll still give a quick recap, score recap of what would happen after that. And so in the 3rd quarter, Angel Roman would get a pick 6 to start that half. She made it 33-0. Extra point was no good. A little bit later here, Brianna Hernandez Silva goes ahead and throws the post route here to Jasmine Whitfield, who scores, making it 39-0. A little bit later, Lexi Marquez gets an interception, doesn't score off of that, but does set up this play where Emily Buell goes in at quarterback here and throws the post to Kieran for her 2nd touchdown, making it 45-0. Now, in the 4th quarter, they go ahead and sub in Hernandez Silva in at running back and run a little double pass. She finds Nikayla Howard, who makes it 51-0. And then Cottey with a little bit of light here. Seamus Lee gets a pick and actually returns this one to the house for a pick 6 and holds up a peace sign. Or she's like waving her hand or something, signaling at Buell here, I want to say, as she takes this one to the house and then gets flagged for excessive celebration. So that is obviously tough, but a pick 6 is a pick 6. So that, Cottey gets on the board. Then following that here, with about 2:59 left, Erica Roberts goes in at quarterback for Cottey and then throws a 28-yard touchdown pass to Seamus Lee, who makes it 51-12 here. But it's still 51-12, and that would be your final score as Kansas Wesleyan wins their, I guess, not regular season finale, but second to last game of the regular season here. Player of the game for me has to be Angel Roman. 2 receiving touchdowns on offense, 2 interceptions on defense. That also includes a pick 6, so she had a hat trick with her touchdowns as she was great for Kansas Wesleyan in this game. And now let's move back to some Sun Conference play. We got Keiser versus St. Thomas here. I don't think this game was going to affect, at least not too much, the rankings here when it came to the Sun Conference tournament. I think regardless, they were going to play each other. And it's also not going to, it wasn't going to affect who hosted it either, because Thomas is going to host. And so regardless, I think these 2 teams were going to play in the Sun Conference tournament, because I don't think either would have been 4th here. I don't think there was a situation for that. But if you want to talk power rankings, at least, St. Thomas just moved up ahead of Keiser. This would have been a great chance for them to potentially take that spot back. They did meet up earlier on in the season, but that was a close Keiser dub. I want to say that was Holly Neer's first start. Since then, obviously, they've been on a 9-game winning streak. Now, let's go ahead and hop into this game here. Speaking of Holly Neer, she gets the ball first, her and the St. Thomas offense. They get the ball out, and it starts pretty promising. Neer finds Jada Graham, who gets them the first down on the out route, but a check down play to Parks that went for 4, a dropped pass, an incompletion because of a high pass on 3rd down would eventually bring up a punt. And so just like that, Keiser would get on the field with about 9 minutes 32 seconds left here. Moving on to 3rd and 8. Fast forwarding a bit here, Roden looks deep up the seam here, but this one is slightly overthrown. Not even that bad of a ball. It just looks maybe a step or two out of reach. But Tashumba Washington, you know, she's going to be there. She's going to feast off of mistakes like that, even small ones. And she comes up with a huge interception and returns it to put St. Thomas in Keiser territory here. And so here we go. St. Thomas with the ball back with 6:56 left here in the first quarter. 2nd and 10 after a quick little short gain here. Near threads the needle to Jada Graham on the post, who almost spins in towards the end zone here, almost scoring, but is stopped just a little bit short. Regardless, she's in the red zone. It's 1st and 1 here. Here is what happens. Moving on to 2nd down, they go ahead and run an end around, a little jet sweep to Jada Graham, who goes ahead and beats the defender to the corner to take the 6-0 lead, just like that. On the extra point, Near throws over the middle, and the ball gets tipped up a couple of times. It looks like it's about to be incomplete, but as the ball comes down, there is a receiver on the ground, and I couldn't quite see who it was, but that receiver caught it as the ball came down, and so that extra point would actually be good, making it 7-0. A little bit of a fluky play, I'm not gonna lie right there, but a catch is a catch. And so Keiser already down 7-0. They get the ball with 2:41 left here, looking to go to work. Roden on 2nd and 3 rolls right and finds the phenom freshman Brennan Ramirez near the sideline for a 1st down. Fast forwarding to 3rd and 5 though, looking to convert. Roden scrambles right, and she decides to go ahead and just take this one, and she runs across midfield. That's a 1st down, new set of downs, and on top of that, they are now in St. Thomas territory. But once again, it comes down to 3rd down. This time it's 3rd and 10 here. Roden rolls right, but she needs to get this thing downfield, and so she threads the needle on the run to Brenna Ramirez, who makes a pretty strong and physical catch, honestly. Which is a great catch by her for a 1st down here in the red zone. Now, let's fast forward to the 2nd quarter here as the 1st quarter ends. It's 3rd and 5. Roden rolling right finds Adriana Rodriguez for the touchdown to make it 7-6, just like that. On the extra point, Roden throws the out route to Kennedy Foster, who ties this game at 7-7. A good response by Keiser right there. St. Thomas looking to reply back. Not the greatest with 11:55 left. They do get a check down throw, but an incompletion. Well, really 2 straight incompletions would bring up 4th down, still in that 1st quadrant. 4th and 6. They are not going to go for it here, obviously. So they go ahead and punt it, going 3 and out. Keiser, on the other hand, they get the ball, and they do have a pretty solid drive brewing here. They're just past midfield, so it was a pretty good return. But it comes down to a 3rd and 2 here. And on 3rd down, Roden finds Ramirez on the short route, who gives them a 1st down in the red zone here, looking to score. Now, St. Thomas, at this point, they take a pretty key timeout to talk some things over here. And so coming out the timeout, Keiser actually shows up here with a 2-quarterback look. Jasmine Roden under center, obviously, or getting the snap, I should say, maybe not under center. And then Haley Young out to the side. They go ahead and attempt a double pass here. Eventually, Young has to throw it back to Roden, and then she is forced to run. Gets maybe a yard here. Just good coverage by this St. Thomas secondary. And a lot of credit to NAIA Leon and the linebacker that was there to help her out and speed up that passing process to force the ball out both those quarterbacks' hands. So that is 1st down. She gets maybe a yard on the run. 2nd down here. They go ahead and run a play, but NAIA Leon gets her 2nd SWAT pass breakup of the day, tips it at the line and knocks it down. So that does bring up 3rd down. And on 3rd down, they run the 2-quarterback set again. Haley Young gets the ball, but then she gives it back to Jasmine Roden, who then tries to rip it over the middle of the field. But like I said, solid coverage. Good job by the secondary here. So it's incomplete, and that brings up a key 4th down here. Keiser really looking to try to get on the board and not waste a drive. But here we go. Roden, under pressure by Leon, is forced to check down to Wagman to give her receiver a chance to make a play, but obviously she is stopped short. And so that is a pretty key turnover on downs. Great defense by this St. Thomas unit to lock up and be ready for that 2 quarterback look. And so here we go, 6:15 left here in the second quarter. Holly Neer throws the out to Kaylee Miller, who goes ahead and puts a move on a player and makes her miss and goes and gets the first down to get this drive going. Following that, it is second down. Neer throws the post to Kaylee Miller, who brings it in and gets loose downfield, scorching the defense. It looks like she might be able to pull away and score, but she is eventually tracked down. But they are pretty deep into the red zone here. And so here we go. In the red zone, they go ahead and throw the slant route to Jada Graham, who makes it a solid 2nd and 9 situation. Following that, St. Thomas, they do a little hard count here. They pull Keiser off sides. That's obviously 5 more yards. And so now it's 2nd and 4 here. And on second down, Neer throws the slant to Rayona Baker, who makes a tough physical high point catch here, which is a great ball here by Neer and a greater, even better catch by Baker to take that 13-7 lead. Now the extra point is tipped at the line, I believe, by Wagman, so that is no good. Now Keiser, they go ahead, they get back into this thing. Here is what happens. There's 3 minutes, 3 seconds left. It comes down to second down. Roden rolls left and pitches it forward to a receiver, but unfortunately it is dropped. And so let's actually fast forward to 3rd and 12, because that would matter here. They would get a solid gain, but it would still be 3rd and 12. And so at this point, a timeout is called by Keiser to preserve some time. So there's about 1 minute, 8 seconds left. Here's what happens at the timeout on 3rd down. Roden fires one over the middle, and this one's actually almost picked by Miranda Fairdes, but it is dropped. So that brings up 4th down, and Keiser decides to punt it. And so St. Thomas, they get the ball with a chance to extend this lead. They only have 56 seconds left, but that is plenty of time to get going. And so they are close to midfield, not past it quite yet. And so here's what happens. Neer just goes ahead and throws the out route to Kaylee Miller, who turns it upfield, gets the first down past midfield, and I believe is able to get out of bounds. So that does stop the clock temporarily. So 45 seconds left. Following that, Neer throws the slant to Miller, gets a pretty big gain for about 8. That makes it 2nd and 12. St. Thomas calls their second timeout. At the timeout, here's what happens. Neer drops back on second down and goes deep and finds Kaylee Miller in one-on-one. Throws a perfect ball in stride for a 32-yard touchdown pass to the house as St. Thomas takes the 19-7 lead. Now, on the extra point, it looks like they were going to go for 2, but then decide to just go for 1. They line up in a little bunch set formation, which is maybe something they took from FMU. But regardless, they go ahead and run it. Neer finds Rayona Baker in the back of the end zone near the back pylon to make it 22-7 here. St. Thomas having to feel good as they have all the momentum as Keiser decides to just run out the clock. And that's where we're at here in halftime at this point of the game. 20-7, St. Thomas with the dominant lead, playing extremely well at this point. But coming out halftime in the 3rd quarter, at the start of the 3rd quarter, Keiser starts on offense, and here is what happens. First down, Roden under pressure, pitches it forward to Emma Wagman, who makes the one-handed catch, it looks like, and goes and gets the first down. Moving on to 2nd down here, it looks like Roden tries to throw the out route to Adriana Rodriguez. She gets a solid gain. That goes for 5. That brings up 3rd and 15, though. They have to get some big play here. And so here's what happens. Roden drops back, aims deep, but Tyler Bryant soars for a huge interception near midfield. I'm not even going to lie. If Tyler Bryant did not make this interception, this would have been a big completion, I think, for Keiser. And could have potentially went the other way. Maybe, I don't know if it would have been a touchdown, but, you know, with where Tyler Bryant was, it was just a great catch by her to make this thing happen and kill that drive there. And then also, you know, give St. Thomas a chance to potentially score. Now, Spoiler alert, they would not be able to do that. They would get a first down past the midfield thanks to an out route to Kayla Alvarez, but, it would come down to a fourth down situation, and it wouldn't help that a flag guarding penalty on them would kind of push them back even more, repeating fourth down, and so it would end up being a turnover on downs. I should say, though, on that fourth down, NAIA actually tries to go deep up the seam to Jada Graham, and she has her, but it looks like it's a rare drop by Jada Graham here. Or either that or it got really, really close. But regardless, it's a turnover on downs. Keiser just barely escapes going down by 3 scores. And so not out of it yet, but they really need to get something going. Here's what happens. Jasmine Roden, with 6:59 left in this game, goes ahead and scrambles for the first down past midfield as they begin to cook. Moving on to 2nd and 9 here, though. Interesting enough, they go ahead and sub in Haley Young in at quarterback, which is interesting because I don't think Jasmine Roden is hurt. And so Haley Young, she's in at quarterback. It's 2nd and 9. She goes ahead and rolls out right and finds Adriana Rodriguez, who gives them a first down here in the red zone. And so in the red zone, Haley Young still under center. She goes ahead and drops back, but just takes too long making a decision here and is sacked by NAIA Leon, which is a pretty big, I don't want to say drive killer at the time, but definitely a momentum killer as she is pushed back pretty far. It's 2nd and 24. And at this point, Jasmine Roden is sub back in. So that's, I don't know. That's just a really interesting way to go here. But she's sub back in. She tries to fire deep left, but it is out of bounds. That brings up 3rd and 24 here. Roden feels the pressure from Leon and is forced to throw it away as Fernandez really played tight coverage here towards the receiver she was trying to throw to, so it wasn't going to be there. So that brings up 4th down, and on 4th down, they bring out Young again, but this time it's looking to be a double pass. They get it to Young, who then throws it back to Roden, who then goes deep, but Tashumba Washington snags a great interception to kill yet another drive. So that's 2 interceptions here in the 3rd quarter. That is really just stalling Keiser and kind of frustrating them a little bit as well. Now, for St. Thomas, there would be about 2 minutes, 52 seconds left. They're really just looking to use up some clock, and that's what they do. On 3rd and 10, NAIA aims for the post deep by Jada Graham, or to Jada Graham, that is. But it looks like she is tripped up, and so that does pull a pass interference penalty out against Keiser, and so that would be a first down. Now let's move on to the 4th quarter, where this drive is extending here. It is 3rd and 12. NAIA against pressure. Once again, throws the post to Jada Graham, makes a great catch and puts them in the red zone on a 30-plus yard play. But following that, there's an incompletion, and there's a pretty big sack by Emma Wagenman that makes this really 3rd and long. Like they're almost at midfield at this point. And following that play on 3rd down, NAIA has to throw it away, and so it's 4th down. St. Thomas looking to play the field positioning game. They just punt it so that Keiser has to work the length of the field. Now, Keiser, they're not out of it. They're only down 2 scores, but their offense has been really cold lately. I think the last couple drives have ended in interceptions. So, I mean, at this point, you're kind of just looking to take care of the ball and do what you got to do here. And so here's what happens. Roden throws the post to Brenna Ramirez, who makes a key all-hands catch here to give them a first down. That gets this drive started. But Roden is under constant pressure by Leon this entire drive, which results in a couple incompletions and a really short check down to Emma Wageman, which brings up 4th and 6. And so here's what happens on 4th and 6. Roden tries to go deep to Ramirez, but Rayona Baker is basically stuck like glue to her. There is almost no separation, and on top of that, this pass is a bit overthrown, so that is a turnover on downs. Now 6:14 left, time is running out. St. Thomas, they just have to have a long drive here. Here's what happens. NAIA finds Graham on the slant, and she gets it, and it looks like she is falling, to the ground here, but the ball must have went off her knee or a body part because she was not down when the ball just popped out. But the ball pops out and it happens to land in the lap of Adriana Cavallati, who makes the catch. And so I believe that goes down as an interception, which is really, I'd say, unprecedented. It really looked like a fluke play. Like, it looked like Graham was just falling to the ground and the ball hit her knee or something like that and popped out and up into the air. So that's what happened, which is interesting. And Cavallati just happened to be there. And so here we go, Roden with a chance to make something happen. There's 5:30 left, but you gotta go right now. And so here we go, second down after a throw for 7 yards. Roden drops back, throws the curl to Brennan Ramirez. That goes for 5. It's now 3rd and 5. But on 3rd down, NAIA Leon applies some pressure here and forces a Jasmine Roden throwaway. So now it is 4th and 5 here. And on 4th down, Roden tries to throw the out route, but this one is just off the mark here. And so that is a turnover on downs. Now, at this point, this game is pretty much over. St. Thomas would run out the rest of the clock here. It looks like, I want to say, they keep Jasmine Roden in. They try a couple double passes. They do get into the red zone here, but I mean, by the time they do, it is less than a minute 40 left here. I mean, they really don't have a lot of time, and it does come down to a 4th and 14 in the red zone. They do the double pass. Roden launches one deep, but this one is way out of bounds, and so that would basically end the game. Not that if they scored there, they would have had a good chance to, get the ball back and maybe score again, because at that point they used all their timeouts. And so just like that, St. Thomas defeats Keiser 20-7 here. It doesn't look like a crazy, a blowout or anything, but St. Thomas was very much in control for most of this game. The third quarter was huge for them. Now, let me talk about some stats here. Holly Neer, pretty clean game, 18 of 32, 225 yards, 2 touchdowns in this one. The lead receiver here, well, you really had 2 receivers who put in most of the work. You had Kaylee Miller, 7 receptions, 108 yards, and a touchdown. Jada Graham was putting in work, as always, 6 receptions, 98 yards in that. And then, as well, let's talk about defense here, because I think that was pretty big. This St. Thomas defense stood up and did a really good job here. Kayla Alvarez led the team with 9 total tackles here. Maya Cayon had 6 tackles as well. NAIA Leon, she had 3 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 sack, 2 pass breakups. It doesn't show quite, I guess, on the stat sheet, but she was key. It felt like she was bringing unrelenting pressure to Roden. There were times they sent 2 players as well, so you gotta keep that in mind. But regardless, she was forcing that clock in Roden's head to tick a bit faster and make a decision a little bit quicker. And so a lot of credit to her, and a lot of credit as well to the secondary, who got 3 interceptions here. I mean, Tashumba Washington, once more, 2 tackles, 2 interceptions. She has been on fire the last month, basically. Then you also have Tyler Bryant with 3 tackles and an interception. That interception she made was huge. It was a little risky. I think she undercut it just a little bit too early. I'm not going to lie. But hey, she made an excellent play, soared for that one. That would have been a big splash play for Keiser, and so just big props to her for making that big-time play. So there you go there. St. Thomas winning their 10th in a row, by the way. Now, Keiser, let's talk about some of their stats. Jasmine Roden, not her best game here. Pretty bad. I'm not even going to lie. 21 of 42, completing half of her passes for 168 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions. 2 of those, I want to say, were pretty costly. That came in, I want to say they came in the third quarter, and then the other interception was pretty big as well, right at the beginning of the game, where she threw it up the seam. And I mean, if she was a little bit more on target, that probably wouldn't have been a pick, but because it's Tashumba Washington and she plays these passing lanes extremely well, it was a pick. And so there you go there. Haley Young, though, interesting enough, 5 of 5 for 48 yards. So there you go there. Lead receiver was Brenna Ramirez with 8 receptions, 65 yards. She went to work. Adrian Rodriguez had another great game, 5 receptions, 57 yards and a touchdown. Kennedy Foster, a little bit of a quiet game, only 4 receptions, 37 yards here. They were, like I said, playing really good defense in this one. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, Sydney Woodman had 6 tackles. She did her thing there. Emma Wagman, 4 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. She was real instrumental as well. Did apply a lot of pressure to St. Thomas here. I believe she was a pretty big reason why St. Thomas didn't score in the second half either. But, unfortunately enough, that was just a really... I don't want to say really late adjustment, but it was a pretty late adjustment to make by that halftime there, already being down by 2 scores. And so there you go there. Player of the game, I really thought about this. I think it could have went to a lot of people for St. Thomas. Holly Neer for sure, she's been lights out. But I want to give this to NAIA Leon. I think this was definitely a signature game for her. I mean, this Keiser offense is extremely good. And so to beat him, you have to have a good secondary, but you can't allow them all day to throw. You really have to speed up the clock, and so gotta give Leon a lot of credit. She did get a big-time sack that helped them out. She was constantly in Roden's face, which did help out with a couple interceptions. Regardless, was just a big part of this squad, and honestly has been a big part of why they've been so successful this last month or so. So there you go. St. Thomas defeats Keiser 20-7. I believe St. Thomas will now be ranked just above them, but regardless, they'll be playing in the Sun Conference tournament, which we'll talk about later in the power rankings section. And then your player of the game here is NAIA Leon. 1 sack in this game, but like I said, just constant pressure all game. She also had 3 tackles and 2 pass breakups, I should say that for sure. But a lot of pressure on Jasmine Roden this entire game, especially in the second half, which was huge. Now, that would be the last Sun Conference game. Let's go back to the KCAC. We have a couple games here to talk about still. One of the biggest ones was Ottawa versus Midland. Ottawa making the travel up to Midland here. In their first game, it was relatively close. I'm not going to lie. It was relatively close. I don't think the scoreboard really showed how close it was, but Ottawa still defeated Midland. I would say at this point, I think regardless, Ottawa is going to be number 1 in this KCAC tournament as far as seeding goes, and Midland was going to be 3 because Midland lost to Kansas Wesleyan twice. And so I don't know if a win would have changed that at all, but I'm pretty sure regardless it would have stayed the same. Although, I mean, that doesn't mean this game was just useless and it was just a throwaway regular season game. There's still pride on the line, especially if you are Midland. You want to win at home. Ottawa, I mean, obviously you don't want to travel all that way to Nebraska just to lose. So there you go there. But let's go ahead and hop into this game here. I am going to kind of go through the first half a little bit quicker here, just because I feel like there was a lot more to talk about here, a little bit more to talk about here in the second half. But to start here, both defenses would hold pretty strong here, as no one would score first yet. But Ottawa would eventually break through with about 1:47 left. Here's what happens. Madison Carrera in at quarterback finds Jaslyn Camacho deep down the right sideline, who stops to make the catch and then just puts a move on the defender and makes her miss completely, and then just walks in for a solid touchdown. I want to say it was around 20-30-ish yards. And then on the extra point, Madison Carrera goes back to Camacho in the back of the end zone this time, though, to take the early 7-0 lead. That would definitely be key, as I kind of feel like the Midland defender just missed, and part of it was because Camacho made a great play as well. So there you go there. Now, on the following drive, this is what would happen. Hannah Sequina for Ottawa would get a pretty big sack that would push Midland back up against their own end zone. So remember that. That's pretty important. 2 plays later, I want to say it is 3rd down, and there's just a really bad snap, as in it doesn't make it to Michaela Nunez, Midland's starting quarterback, at all, and it just bounces off the floor basically and lands in the end zone. And because There's no fumbles. Wherever the ball lands, it is a dead ball. And because they're already backed up against their own end zone, it doesn't have to go far for it to be a dead ball. And so, just like that, Ottawa takes a key 9-0 lead here with that safety. A little bit of some shades of the last game here. If you remember, in that last game, I'm pretty sure it was Midland here where they went to Ottawa and they had a bad safety in that first half, and so just keep that in mind. But here in the second quarter, Midland, they're only down 9-0. They do get a stop though, which is huge. So Ottawa, they're not able to score once Midland punts it back to them, and so that's big time. This Midland defense, by the way, just playing very well, not allowing Madison Carrera to run around, and on top of that, applying a lot of pressure. Not allowing Madison Carrera 5 seconds to throw the ball, allowing maybe 3 or 2 seconds less, less than 3 or 2 seconds, and just forcing her to get the ball out quick here, if not off platform as well. And so Midland's playing really good defense, I would say, but so is Ottawa. But here we go, 6 minutes, 30 seconds left here in the second quarter. Midland would put together a pretty solid drive downfield, and here's what happens. Nunez will get the ball here on the snap, evades the pressure, and then just lofts one up deep to Alyssa Butler, who just gets past the defense here, slips past them, and would score on a huge, I want to say 40-ish yard touchdown to make the score 9-6. Now the extra point would be no good. That's just good defense by Ottawa here. And at this point, honestly, I know it's like midway through the second quarter, neither offense would score. Both teams applying a lot of pressure to both quarterbacks here and just making it really difficult to get a play longer than 5 to 10 yards off. So there you go there. Now I would say this, Midland would get a huge fourth down stop around 2 minutes left in the second quarter, but Nunez would then throw a pretty costly interception downfield, just looking for a shot when you probably should just take what's there, and Farron Malif would get a pretty key interception to kill that drive. And like I said, Ottawa would not be able to score either, but that was a tough situation to kind of just give away pretty much right after you got that fourth down stop. And so let's fast forward to the third quarter here. I want to say this is the first drive for Ottawa. Here's what happens. Second down, Madison Carrera finds Alyssa Linkus on the out route. She gets really close to getting that first down. On third down, Madison Carrera just runs up the middle, gets the first down. There you go, extends this drive. Moving on to third down here, Carrera finds Randria Gamble near the right sideline here. That goes for a first down past midfield. But unfortunately, this Ottawa offense stalls just a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit. It is 4th and 1, very manageable here. They are looking to extend this drive. Here's what happens. They go ahead and do a quick hard count. That pulls Midland offside, so that's really tough for them. But great for Ottawa as they get a first down here in the red zone, looking to extend this lead. Now, first down here, Carrera forced to check down to Scalisi. That goes for only 5. Defense comes up and pulls that. Second down here, Carrera tries to scramble, but is basically tackled here. And so that draws a penalty, which is fair. And so that repeats second down, plus they're moved up just a little bit here. And so on second down, again, Carrera under pressure by Sydney Red is forced to check it down to Scalisi again, who this time is not able to get any yards. So that brings up third down here. And on third down, they go ahead and throw the drag route to Alyssa Linkus, who then tries to pitch it to Scalisi, but it is unfortunately dropped. And so that brings up fourth down here. And I'm just going to put this out there. Watching the stream, I don't know who the cameraman was, but he wouldn't pan over the camera just a little bit. So I couldn't see a good 3/4 of the end zone. So just keep that in mind. But on fourth down, Madison Carrera under pressure, kind of tries to loft one here towards the left side in the blind spot, unfortunately, of the camera. Was not able to see what happens, but I could definitely hear the crowd react to this. I guess it was a pass interference call. Obviously, it's the Midland, sideline audience that were not liking that. And so I don't know how true that was or whatever, but they obviously didn't like it and felt like it wasn't a great call. Like I said, with a grain of salt, just, take that with a grain of salt, honestly. But regardless, that would be key, as it would give Ottawa another chance here. And on that second chance, Madison Carrera finds Alyssa Linkus on a little out drag route here. I want to say it was an out route that would go for the touchdown and make it 16-6 here. And then on the extra point, I don't believe, they did get the extra point, excuse me. And so that would actually make it 16-6, because 9 plus 7 is 16. So there you go there. Ottawa taking a pretty big lead here a little late in the third quarter. Now Midland, they would get a key first down on the next drive, but ultimately stall out. Just great defense by Ottawa, great coverage I should say, and so they are forced to punt it. Now right before the end of the third quarter, Carrera finds Tatiana Dos Santos, who would give them a solid catch here and a first down past midfield. And so that's where we pick up here in the fourth quarter. Ottawa very much in the driver's seat here, up 16-6, 10 points, but still pretty good, as they do have the ball, looking to extend the lead. Here is what happens. Third down for Ottawa. Carrera throws a pass, and it looks like she has a receiver open as well, but it's just really short, a little uncharacteristic. But to her credit and to Midland's credit, they were bringing some pressure here, so she kind of had to get the ball out a little bit quicker than she probably wanted. And so that brings up fourth down here, and on fourth down, Carrera goes ahead, drops back, and interesting enough, aims to go deep, and this one's almost picked off, but it is just knocked down eventually. Regardless, it's the same result. It's a turnover on downs. And so Midland gets the ball with 11:14 left here. Only down by 10, but they do need a score now, as they will definitely need 2 scores to win this game at the minimum. And so here's what happens. Second down, Nunez finds Casey Thompson on the drag route. That goes for first past midfield. Following that, Nunez finds Casey Thompson again, this time on an out route. That goes for about 8. That brings up second down here, where Nunez finds Alyssa Butler on the out for a first in the red zone. There is also a penalty on Ottawa for illegal contact, so that is tagged on to that play. But on first down, Nunez drops back, and she is sacked by Sequana. That is huge, and so that brings up second down and long here. And on second down, Nunez throws to Elia Livingston in the flat. It goes for minimum gain here, so that brings up third down here. And on third down, Nunez throws this one kind of under pressure here, and it is picked off. Just not the greatest decision, but obviously, Haley McKay is there. She's going to go make a play. She's experienced, and so she gets the interception, gets a solid return. That kills a very promising drive, and so with 8 minutes left, Ottawa takes over here, but find themselves in a little bit of a tough spot. Fast forwarding to 3rd and 10, Carrera once more is under pressure, and she tries to go deep to Alyssa Linkus, but it's overthrown as well, and she is also very well covered. So that brings up 4th and 10 here, and Ottawa still in that first quadrant, I want to say, in the quadrant they started in after the pick. They go ahead and go 3 and out and punt this one, not trying to give Midland great field positioning. And so Midland, they get the ball here. 3rd and 1, Nunez rifles one to Casey Thompson on the curl. That goes for a first down past midfield. Now they're in Ottawa territory, but unfortunately, just a lot of incompletions here by Nunez, as she is under a lot of pressure. And so that brings up 4th and 10 eventually. And on 4th down, Nunez goes deep, but this one is just not on target. It's thrown out of bounds, so that's a turnover on downs. And so 2:45 left. I wouldn't say this game is over yet. I would say, Ottawa needs to get a first down or 2, probably 2 for sure, to really put this thing away. And so here is what happens. They go ahead and hand it off to Andrea Gamble, who then pitches it back to Carrera, but there is a penalty on Ottawa for flag guarding. So now it's 1st and 25 here. So just keep that in mind. And by the way, they're not in the first quadrant. They are in that second quadrant right before midfield. But still, though, 1st and 25 after that flag guarding penalty. And so after that, Carrera goes over the middle to Linkus, who then falls backwards just a little bit. That makes it 2nd and 15. 2nd down here, Midland sends both Thompson and Red on the blitz. That forces Carrera to throw away this ball, basically. So that brings up 3rd and 15. And on 3rd down, Carrera forced to scramble once again, but this Midland defense is able to corral her and stop her just a little short, and so it is 4th and 10. And at this point, Midland calls their 2nd timeout with 1:41 left, and it looks like Ottawa is going to punt it. But coming out of the timeout, and Ottawa lines up at first in a punt situation, they change it from 4th down to 3rd down. And I'm not tripping. I rewinded this a million times and watched it before the timeout. It literally said 4th down. I counted the downs, which, by the way, did include that one time where the penalty made it 1st down again, 1st and 25 again. So then all those plays happened, like I said, and they called their 2nd timeout, and they change it from 4th down to 3rd down, which is shock. I don't know what happened. And so Ottawa pulls their punt team out and then obviously put out their offense because they're not going to punt on 3rd down. And here's what happens. Carrera throws it to Scalisi, who gets the ball, and, obviously they have to pull her flag, but they hold her. And so that draws a holding penalty, and that will put them past midfield here. So, yeah, it's interesting for sure. I mean, like I said, there's no guarantees, but let's just get through the rest of this. At this point, the game is basically over. They got a 1st down, like I said, past midfield. They could maybe get another 1st down to really put this thing away, but at this point, I mean, Midland just used their 2nd timeout as well, so they could only stop the clock maybe one more time. And so as the game goes on, though, there's definitely a lot of chirping, and I think this is important to say, but they eject Sydney Red, which is huge because she, in my opinion, is one of the best rushers in the country and is a key part to this defense and was a key part to this defense's strategy here. She actually gets 2 straight personal fouls here on this drive after that 1st down, which, I mean, obviously she's upset and whatnot. I would be too, because that's definitely a little bit of a missed call. And so, so she gets thrown out, and we'll talk about that after this game here. But eventually, I mean, Ottawa, they kind of run out the clock, but then they also score. Carrera throws an out route to Gamble. She walks it in. And so they do score a little bit of a garbage time touchdown to make it 23-6. And that would be your final score. Ottawa beats Midland 23-6 here. Before I react to it, let's just talk stats real quick. I think that's fair because I think this was a really good defensive game for sure. Defensively, both teams played really well. Do want to give Ottawa a lot of credit here. Really what it came down to was what quarterback was going to be the toughest and just kind of ride this thing out, as it wasn't going to be pretty, but as long as you got the dub, that's what matters, right? And so Madison Carrera, 26 of 38, 172 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Not the cleanest performance, but like I said, I mean, still over 50% passing, still more touchdowns than turnovers. That's what you want, right? It's not great. It doesn't look great on paper, but it's enough to get you a winning effort, a dub, So there you go. On the ground, she didn't do too much as well, only averaging 2.9 yards a carry, 9 attempts for 26 yards, which I feel like has to be a season low, as she has been on fire lately. So there you go. At receiver, Jaslyn Camacho, 2 receptions, 40 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown at the beginning, I would say, was extremely key. I mean, she just made a player miss. That, if you're Midland, you're looking back at that, that's obviously one you want back. You make the flagpole, you at least give your defense a little bit more time to regroup and potentially stop him instead of just walking in. And so that's a lot of credit to Jaslyn Camacho on that individual play. I do also want to shout out Alyssa Linkus, as she was right behind her. 10 receptions, 39 yards, and a touchdown. She was going to work, especially in that second half. I mean, like I said, not pretty. Sometimes you just gotta ride it out. That's what she did. She did her job. 10 receptions. I think that's more than 5. That's more than the next 4 receivers, reception-wise. So there you go. Defensively, though, let's talk about that. Defensively, they played well. Abby Brown continues her depoy campaign, I would say. 5 tackles here. No picks, no sacks, but, holding it down. Suzanne Kaufman was huge as well. 5 tackles. Did have a sack, though, and also 2 tackles for loss, which in a game like this, yardage matters, right? And so there you go there. Haley McKay, 4 tackles. She did have that big interception in the red zone, which I would say is key. Farron Malif also had a key interception in the second quarter, which was huge as well. 3 tackles as well. And then Hannah Serquina, 2 tackles, 2 sacks. I think these 2 sacks is the same as the tackles for loss here. But that was huge. Also just applying a lot of pressure. And actually, she is your player of your game here. Just played a great game, honestly. She just played an extremely good game here. Just applying a lot of pressure, forcing Michaela Nunez into really uncomfortable spots. And then obviously those 2 sacks came at real ideal times for Ottawa. Now, Midland here, offensively, obviously doesn't look great on paper either. 19 of 37, just barely above 50% though. Still above it though. 196 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. Wasn't able really to rush at all. Had 10 attempts. It looks like it says negative 17 yards here. That's just great defense by Ottawa, honestly. But at receiver, you had 2 receivers who really produced here. Casey Thompson, 7 receptions, 82 yards. She was real reliable. Same with Alyssa Butler, 5 receptions, 72 yards. Also had a touchdown as well, the lone one of the day. And then defensively for Midland, they were putting in work. Casey Thompson, once more, 7 tackles. Olivia Dominguez-Millsap, 7 tackles. Alyssa Butler, 4 tackles and a tackle for loss. Sydney Red only had 1 sack here and 3 tackles. But like I said, just applying a lot of pressure here. They played them really close, and I think this was just a really good game plan by this Midland defense and Midland coaching staff, just getting this team prepared and, putting Ottawa in uncomfortable spots. And I would also say this wasn't Ottawa's cleanest game either. So combine that coaching with, being a little bit off, it gave them a really good chance to win it. At the end of the day, you did make enough plays on offense to do that, though. Even though you did drive into the red zone, you did it once in the fourth quarter. Threw a ill-advised throw here. It was 3rd down, but you just don't throw that. No one was really there. Haley McKay made a great play, so there you go. Then obviously, I want to say they had a couple of drives here in the 3rd quarter as well to match them, and so it's just tough. Really, I'm going to take away that touchdown at the end that Ottawa scored, because really it was a 16-6 game. It was a 10-point game. You score more than once, it's obviously closer and anything could have happened and all that great stuff. And so they did what they could to game plan for it. They just came up short, which is unfortunate. Now, I am going to address the controversy there. I know that they gave them another down. That's just what it came down to. Now, it's unfortunate because there was 1:41 seconds left. Who's to say Midland doesn't go down, score quickly, get a big play, right? The thing is, they would still have to stop them, and at that point, if they're lucky, they have maybe one more timeout, and they would just have to force Ottawa to go 3 and out, and maybe hope that they also pass on one of those downs as well, or something, right? Because that gives you an opportunity to break it up, not because a complete pass or anything like that would help you out. And so even if it was 4th down and Ottawa was going to punt it and Midland did get the ball, there wouldn't have been a great opportunity for them to win this game. They probably should have scored at the beginning to put them in a better spot, but it's missed call for sure. I don't understand why they made it 3rd down again. I know there was that penalty that made it 1st and 25, which technically moved them out of that 2nd quadrant back into the 1st quadrant, but it's 1st and 25. The 1st down marker is still at midfield. That doesn't move because, of a penalty. Which is the only way I could really kind of process that. Because like I said, I mean, I have the plays that happened listed down here. I wrote them down as they went because it was getting kind of late in the game. I knew all of these wouldn't matter. And so definitely it's interesting, with that extra down being added on. It didn't cheat Midland out of a dub, at least not completely. But it's definitely something that if I was a coach or player, I'd be really upset about. And I'm not going to justify, Sydney Red doing what she did and getting ejected because I don't know what happened and whatnot. But also that does kind of affect some things because it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But I'm almost positive with ejections comes at least a 1-game suspension. Could be wrong. Every conference has their own rules. Every league has their own rules and whatnot. But I would say for the most part, an ejection also comes with a suspension right after. And so we'll see what happens. But the next games are the KCAC tournament. And so they probably should still be able to win their first round matchup even without her. But you do kind of want her to get warmed up. I mean, you want all your players to be warmed up and available to start just in case, right? And so just real unfortunate for Midland here. Like I said, I think they had a good game plan and whatnot going into this thing. They really just were a couple offensive plays short. I think defensively, for the most part, they were fine. I mean, holding Ottawa pretty much to 16, that's not bad. Even to 23, I could even throw in that, garbage time touchdown. Holding them to that, you probably should be in a position to win it or compete down the line still. And so it's something they're going to learn. They're going to get better from. But, I don't want to take that away from Ottawa. Big props to them. I mean, they toughed this one out. It wasn't easy. It was one of those games where you have to grind it out. You got to take what's there. You can't be overly ambitious. You got to rely on your experience. You got to rely on your instincts and stay focused in this scenario, especially since you were away too. I know that Midland crowd was relatively loud, right? So a big props to Ottawa for finding a way to get it done and making the adjustments they needed to as well. Did see Addie Orsburn out there. I know in this recap I didn't mention her a whole ton, but she was out there. She does add speed. That is another player that you definitely have to account for when you're covering, because you can't, you can't just be okay with leaving her open and then coming up and making that tackle. It's a numbers game at that point, right? And so a lot of credit to Ottawa for finding a way to get it done. They will be the 1 seed going into this KCAC tournament, and then I think Midland is locked in at 3, or they were already locked in at 3. So there you go there. But Ottawa defeats Midland 23-6 here in a bit of a thriller, some drama at the end of the season. Okay, now let's move on to the last games of the regular season. St. Mary versus Bethel here. Unfortunately, this one was just not shown at all. And I know I've said this before, but I was literally waiting on the stream page, and then it said it got delayed, and then nothing happened. And I looked all over. I looked on the conference website, all that great stuff. I couldn't find any replays. And honestly, I think I'm just going to talk about the recap here. There were articles written about it, so I'll talk about those. So those are my sources. Shout out Bethel and St. Mary for posting that, and the stats as well. Really appreciate that. But I do want to say as well, before I go into this one, so Bethel defeated St. Mary by either 16 or 20 in their first matchup. That was not posted for a minute here, so, or at least the last week or the week before. So, we'll talk about that in the power ranking section, but this is definitely a game between two teams, so I feel like they're kind of on the same level. Except the only thing for Bethel is that they were without their starting quarterback, Kyler Rome. And if you have heard some of the recaps I've said, I think she's a pretty solid quarterback. A good athlete who could run, who has a good arm. I think she's just a little green and just has to really learn the game. And so not having her is tough because I don't think they've had many games where they didn't have her at all, available. I do want to go ahead and give Bethel's coach a lot of credit there. I mean, she's given her a pretty long leash because she knows she is a young quarterback and has given her the opportunity to learn from her mistakes. So she has played a lot of the games, there's a lot of snaps for Bethel at quarterback. So they don't really have too many quarterbacks who had significant snaps, I would say. Rome has been the QB1 for Bethel. And so in this game, they kind of went in between Jesse McMichael and Leah Groves, who shared quarterback duties, but just didn't work out super well. I mean, to start here in this game, St. Mary would get a safety. That would put them up by 2. That would put them up early here, 2-0. And then obviously they would get the ball back on the punt, and they would score on that drive in the second quarter to extend the lead 9-0. That touchdown would be a NAIA Hooks at quarterback, completing a 23-yard touchdown to Ellie Campbell to go ahead and put them up. And then Sable Barnes would get the extra point there. Fast forwarding to the third quarter, Bethel would actually put together some pretty solid drives here and would get into the end zone twice, but unfortunately would come up empty both times because of turnovers. The first time they drove down into the red zone, Shaden Cooley ended that drive with a key interception. And then eventually, they would stall out. The Spires, would stall out. And then Bethel would get the ball back. They would drive back into the red zone again, only to be intercepted this time by Demi. I want to say it's Hilton. Excuse me if I'm saying that wrong or whatever. But they got intercepted by her. So that's 2 interceptions in the third quarter. 2 red zone interceptions at that. Which, I mean, you really can't blame inexperienced quarterbacks for that. Especially this late in the season. And so there you go there. Those would all hurt Bethel because obviously, I mean, you want to make this a 1-score game or closer to a 1-score game, even maybe take the lead. And so those are 2 drives that they probably want back. In the fourth quarter, though, the Spires would go ahead and take care of business, extend this lead, put this thing away, scored 2 touchdowns here. The first one, which was interesting enough, Sable Barnes would go in at quarterback, and she would complete a really short, 2-yard pass to NAIA Hooks, and they would get the extra point on that one. And then the last touchdown would be Barnes completing another pass to Hooks, another shorter touchdown pass to make it 22-0 in that one. And so Spires, they go ahead and get a pretty key dub here. I mean, they know what kind of team they are. I mean, this is a team that is definitely in the rebuilding phase. Loss to Bethel 18-7 earlier on. And so this was actually their first dub, especially in the new era for their new head coach here. So obviously, congrats to her. That's big. I mean, you want to continue to get better, and this is definitely one to be happy about. If you are the Spires, you'll take all the wins that you could get in this season. Because it's all learning opportunities. Now, talking about some stats here real quick. Bethel, Jesse McMichael, 6 of 11, for 54 yards, 2 interceptions. She was the lead passer, got the majority of the snaps there. At receiver, Jaquel Tucker, 5 receptions, 37 yards. She is a really solid receiving option. I think when things stabilize a little bit more at the quarterback position, and also, you add a couple more weapons to take some pressure off of her, she could really turn up. So keep an eye out for Jaquel Tucker there. Now, player of the game, I think this one's pretty obvious. NAIA Hooks. I mean, 1 passing touchdown, 2 receiving touchdowns. That was big time. She scored all their touchdowns in this one, which was still a relatively close game. Cooley had a really key interception there, along with Demi Hilton. Those were big time as well. To go ahead and, kind of stall out Bethel in that third quarter, which ended up being really key to this victory. And then the last game to talk about here in this Week 10 in the regular season is Kansas Wesleyan versus the University of St. Mary. This was actually a reschedule of game. This was played on Sunday, today, April 23rd. And I mean, it wasn't super close. Kansas Wesleyan won as they should, 57-0 here. Brianna Hernandez Silva, 11 of 15, 186 yards, 5 passing touchdowns, 59 rushing yards. Jasmine Whitfield actually had a really good game here, 6 receptions, 99 yards, 3 touchdowns. Alexa Mansur led the defense with 7 tackles. Deanne Rabano, 4 tackles, 2 sacks. But that's half of the 4 total sacks they got in this game. Nikayla Howard and Layla Casillan getting the other sacks. And then Angel Roman in this game, I think she had a receiving touchdown as well. But on defense, 2 tackles, 2 interceptions. Now for the Spires, Anaya Hooks led with 8 tackles here. Jerica Johnson, 7 tackles, a sack. Also was the lead receiver with 8 receptions for 63 yards. Shannon Cooley with 7 tackles. And then this is definitely interesting enough. I mean, she didn't play great or anything, but Sable Barnes got the majority of the snaps at quarterback this game. 14 of 32, 111 yards, 3 picks. Player of the game, I should say, it's Jasmine Whitfield. I mean, 99 yards, 3 receptions, 3 receiving touchdowns, 6 receptions. She was pretty big time in this game here, which was a blowout at the end, but definitely good to see her go to work, as she is a very talented and speedy receiver out there for them. Now for the Spires, I mean, I didn't expect them to win this one, but definitely interesting seeing Barnes take the majority of the snaps at quarterback here. Going into the KCAC tournament and the national tournament, we will see who is the quarterback for the Spires moving forward. Both Barnes and Hooks aren't going to be graduating. So that's definitely a quarterback competition to keep an eye on moving forward. All right, now let's talk Playmakers of the Week. A lot of games here. This was really tough. I mean, it always is, but I think this week especially was super tough. Definitely could have went in a couple of different directions. I honestly think there were maybe 3 or 4 players that could have won this one, but let's first talk about all the players of the game first. Let's go in reverse order here, starting on Sunday. Kansas Wesleyan versus the Spires. Kansas Wesleyan won that one. Jasmine Whitfield was the player of the game, 6 receptions, 99 yards, and a hat trick, 3 touchdowns in that one. Going to the Saturday games here, Spires, University of St. Mary versus Bethel. St. Mary would win this one. Player of the game would be Anaya Hooks. 1 passing touchdown, 2 receiving touchdowns for a hat trick there. Now going to the Keiser versus St. Thomas game. A lot of players to pick from. St. Thomas did win this. A lot of players contributed to this. I think Kaylee Miller is definitely somebody that could have been considered, along with Holly Neer. But I think Lanaya Leon definitely deserves this recognition. 1 sack only, but a lot of pressures definitely kept Jasmine Roden on her toes in this one in a big-time dub. So there you go. That's your player of the game. Now in the Midland versus Ottawa game here, player of the game for this one has to be Hina Surquina. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I'm always a little insecure. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not, but 2 sacks in this game, but definitely, just like Leon, applying a lot of pressure throughout this entire game here in a game that really was a defensive type of matchup here. Now moving on to Kansas Wesleyan versus Cottey here. Player of that game, Angel Roman, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. One of those picks was a pick 6. Need I say more? She really turned up in that one. Now going over to the Sun Conference, Weber versus Warner on Saturday. Player of that game, Kayla Burrows, 7 receptions, 50 yards, 1 receiving touchdown. Also led the team with 7 tackles in that game. And it's not, I don't think it's ever going to be listed here, but she also caught a lot of the extra points in this game as well that would send Weber to the Sun Conference postseason tournament. Now Ottawa versus the Spires here. Ottawa won big, 58-0. Player of that game is Madison Carrera, 13-22, 145 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 46 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, that is, for 6 total touchdowns in that game. Now in the Midland versus Cottey game, player of that game was Michaela Nunez, 203 passing yards, 48 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns in that one. Moving on here to St. Thomas versus Florida Memorial. This one was a really close game, but St. Thomas won 14-12, and the player of that game was Holly Neer, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns. Really stood tough, kept the ball moving, kept drives alive and whatnot, and obviously scored to go ahead and win that one. Now moving on here, Thomas versus Warner here. Player of that game was Janae Scott. I mean, this was a complete blowout, 45-0, but Janae Scott had 2 picks in this one. Also a pick 6. And just doing her thing per usual out there. So a lot of props to her. Now Keiser versus Weber here. Keiser would win this one pretty big here. And I think player of this game has to be Jasmine Roden. I want to say she threw 4 touchdowns in this one and was just very sharp in this game. So there you go. Those are all of the players who won player of the game this week. A lot of games, like I said, and definitely a lot of options to pick from here. But I think for the last regular season Playmaker of the week, your Week 10 Playmaker of the week has to go to Weber's Caleb Burrows here. I mean, 7 receptions, 50 yards and a touchdown, and 7 tackles in a 27-13 win over Warner. That would send them to the Sun Conference tournament officially, which is absolutely huge there. And then also caught a lot of extra points as well. I mean, she's been having an excellent season. There is a reason she is in the MVP race and is still in there. I mean, she is the lead receiver for the squad, lead tackler. She does it all for Weber. And, you know, she came up big in a game that they needed to win to enter that postseason tournament. So there you go. That is your Week 10 Playmaker of the week. Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and get to the power ranking section here. Not too many changes here in the last week of the season. Let's go ahead and recap on the Week 9 power rankings, though. Let's talk about that real quick. So last week, 15 was Midland, 14 Bethel, 13 St. Mary, 12 Cottey, 11 Campbellsville, 10 Reinhardt, 9 Florida Memorial, 8 Midland, 7 Kansas Wesleyan, 6 we have Warner, or we had Warner, 5 was Weber, 4 was Keiser, 3 was St. Thomas, 2 was Thomas, and then number 1 was Ottawa. And so this week, there's not many changes here. I'm just going to go down the line and just say it. At 15, we got Milligan. 14 is Bethel still. 13, St. Mary. 12, Cottey. 11, Campbellsville. 10, Reinhardt. 9, Florida Memorial. 8, Midland. At 7, this is a new thing here, is Warner. At 6, moving up, is Kansas Wesleyan. At 5 is Weber. 4, Keiser. 3, St. Thomas. 2 is Thomas. And 1 is Ottawa. So our only change was moving Warner down here and moving Kansas Wesleyan up. Now, let's just go ahead and talk about that real quick here. So Kansas Wesleyan, second in the KCAC. Their only 2 losses has been to number 1 Ottawa, and that second loss was a really close game. A game that they probably should have won, to be honest with you. I mean, they were up going into that second half. So there you go there. So they're moving up here. It's not like they're a weak team at all. This offense for sure has been really sharp. Brianna Hernandez Silva has been on an absolute tear, getting everyone involved here. Defensively, they've done a good job. A lot of credit to both Deanne Rubano and Layla Casillan. I feel like Layla Casillan has had a sack every game for like the last 5 or 6 games now. I definitely could be wrong, but she's been going to work. That defense, that linebacker group, Lex Cube over there, Mansur, Marquez, they've been doing their thing. Shania Marape has been doing her thing. Angel Roman has really picked it up. I mean, we know what she's been, able to do, but she's always been a mainstay over there. I mean, this has been a very consistent group that is going to be a lot better than most teams think. I think it's been a while since they've not played KCAC opponents here, but going into the KCAC tournament, I think they are definitely a team that can compete with an Ottawa. I'm not even going to lie to you, and beat them potentially. Now they have to be on their best. I mean, they got to be playing their best game against them. And obviously Ottawa is not just going to lie down and lose because they have ran this conference. But I think Kansas Wesleyan is really going to make a push here and make some noise, not only in this tournament, but in the national tournament as well. Now for Warner here, look, it's really, they've just had a really tough 2 weeks here. Losing Madison Tingen has been a pretty big deal, And just the offensive production just hasn't been great. I mean, they haven't scored, I don't think, more than 3 times yet without Madison Tingen in at quarterback. And yes, one of those games was against Thomas. I'll give you a pass there, but then you played Weber, who you only scored twice against, right? You played Keiser as well, who I don't think you scored at all against last week. And so they're good teams, no doubt about it. But offensively, I just don't know. I don't know. I just don't know what to expect, really. They obviously have talent. They have great receivers in Cynthia Holmes. Anna Vincentini's really good. Amiri Logan's really good. Trinity Kieran has really come on. But you need a quarterback to distribute the ball and to make good decisions under pressure. Because this late in the season, I think everyone is, figuring out hey, you can't be letting these quarterbacks just sit and throw. You got to limit that time. You got to send 1 or 2 people. You got to give them different looks here. And the quarterback group they have right now is just real inexperienced. I mean, they're learning on the run here, basically. I mean, on the move. So there's just not a lot of grace, I guess, here. Unfortunately, because it's just so late in the season, they have to play well. And they have to play better, to be honest with you. And it's interesting that they did experiment with that 2 quarterback set there. And I'm glad that they did, because that's something that you honestly might see more in the national tournament, because they're not making the Sun Conference tournament. They lost their way out of that. And so now all that's left is the national tournament, and so we'll see what happens. I'm also going to say that it's very concerning that Jenna Marrero, I believe, is hurt as well. I don't think I saw her last game against Weber or against Thomas, and so we'll see if she could come back. That would be a huge boost if she could, because she is obviously a great running back, a great quarterback option, and I mean, she's had a lot of playing time too. So out of the quarterbacks that you're kind of trotting out there, she technically has the most experience so far this season. And so just with Warner right now, they're at 7, and it's just really hard to imagine if they were to play Kansas Wesleyan, how that game will look and what a path to victory will look for them. Because, I mean, I think KWU, their defense has really stepped it up. And on top of that, I also want to talk about Warner's defense. They just haven't been good the last 2 weeks. They just haven't. I don't know if they're discouraged or if it's the end of the season and maybe the priority isn't there, or I don't know. I just don't know. But they just haven't played well at all. And I know they could play better too. There's a reason I said this was a team that could have been a dark horse, going into this latter half of the season here. And it wasn't just because of Madison Tingen and the offense. The defense was playing pretty well, and they need to get back to that. And they're going to have basically roughly less than a month, 3 or so weeks to figure it out. May 18th, I think, is when they get started and playing. And so we won't see them play until then. And so for now, with the power rankings, they have to move back 1 spot. So there you go. But other than that, everything else stays pretty much the same here. I do want to say this, for these power rankings, we're just going to limit them to the regular season here. So during the tournament or after the tournaments, postseason tournament and all that, we probably won't do a power rankings. We probably will do a power rankings right after the national tournament, just to have an end of the season thing and where all the teams stand and all that great stuff. That way we could use that to build on to next season as well. But this will pretty much be the last power rankings until after the season here. So just keep that in mind. And so with that being said, I had Cottey write down some notes here that he wanted me to say about each of the teams going into the postseason here and into tournament play. And then I'm also going to just talk about quick strengths and weaknesses, things to look out as these teams do approach the postseason. Now, we'll start at 15. We'll start with Milligan here. Look, they basically canceled their season. I don't know if they're going to play in the national tournament. I would imagine they aren't going to, but I know they are recruiting a pretty solid class here. Recruited a lot of players from Georgia, and so they're definitely retooling here and trying to get ready for next season. And so this is probably the last time we talk about them. I mean, Cottey said, how many times do games with this team have to be canceled before we don't even talk about them? I'm not going to go that far. I mean, they had a really small roster to start, so I don't think it's that big of a surprise that they just kind of canceled here. But definitely look out for them next year. They're definitely a program looking for more players, and so if you want to play for them and whatnot, that's definitely still an option. So there you go. Now at 14, we've got Bethel here. This is what Cottey had to say. Getting a win in your inaugural season is not something that always happens, so Bethel shouldn't be happy. So Bethel should be happy to have that. We will see if they have the depth to land as the 5 seed by the tournament's conclusion. I think he means conference tournament conclusion. And so we'll see about that here. Definitely questions moving forward with Kyla Rome. I don't know what the extent of her injury is. It kind of sounded like she'll be able to come back, but we'll see, moving forward and whatnot. But I think Kyla Rome is definitely someone that is going to win you games. At least, I mean, they'll beat teams like the University of St. Mary and whatnot, because she has before. And I think it would be really important for her to come back for this tournament. Not because I think they could win it all or win a bunch of games, but because I think just having that postseason experience is going to be really important to build your program on top of moving forward. So that you have as many players as possible that have the experience of playing in those high-pressure situations against a lot of talent, against experienced schemes, coaches, all that stuff. So there you go. At 13, we have the University of St. Mary. This is what Cottey has to say. Way to sneak in a win against Bethel just before the season ended. But until the squad fills up and overflows a roster with interest, it's hard to be optimistic for the Spires for the future, much less than the current season. Definitely have to agree there. I mean, I think this is a team that has players. They have 2 really experienced players in Jerica Johnson and Shannon Cooley. I think those are the strengths of this team moving forward. Weaknesses is basically depth because everyone is playing both ways. And if somebody gets hurt, that puts them in a really tough spot, whether it's in the KCAC tournament or in the national tournament. So depth is always going to be a little bit of an issue with the Spires. They are one of the thinner rosters. I think they are the thinnest roster in the entire country that is currently playing right now. I'd say Bethel has a couple more players than them. So there you go. At 12, we have Cottey, though. This is what Cottey says. It maybe is a bit odd for a team ranked 4th in their conference to be rated this low, but it is more of a reflection of the teams below them. They got a couple of TDs in their season closer, but I don't like their odds against heavyweights in conference, and I expect the regular season finish to reflect their conference tourney finish. Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, this is a team that is continuing to get better. For them to, first off, be 4th, I want to say, going into their conference tournament is pretty big. That's the highest they've been ranked ever in program history moving forward. They also set highs in touchdowns scored this season, I'm pretty sure, in wins this season as well. I believe they sweeped 2 teams even, and so that's definitely a sign of growth for this Cottey squad. They got players out there. I would say their strength, it's hard to pinpoint, but I would say defensively they got some players over there that could challenge some teams for sure. Carrie Cloyd, she's done her thing there. Kenzie Murdoch at linebacker, super smart, great leader as well. You have Daniela Goodridge, Angie Cruz, and more. I mean, there's a lot of players I can name off. Jolia Johnson as well on both sides of the ball. Maya Krula as well. They have a pretty solid core. I think for them it's more about filling out that depth because a lot of those players still play both ways, and it's tough. To play both ways and whatnot, because, I mean, you're always out on the field. You're not able to go to the sideline to talk to your coaches, really, at any point about what's happening on offense or defense and reflect and, figure out how to get better because you got to focus on, now I got to go play defense now, or now I got to go play offense now. And so that's definitely a little bit of an issue. Now, they're troopers. They're working through it. They're definitely not the worst team in the country and not the worst team in the conference by far. And so there's definitely a lot of improvements there. Strength, I would say, is definitely the defense Weaknesses, and if any, is the depth. I don't even really want to say offense, because there are times it's offense when they're going, they're good. Whether it's Karula back there or Haberstock back there making plays. I do think they need to kind of figure out which quarterback they're going to go with, but it looks like Haberstock will probably be that person, so that you do have an Amaya Karula that you could kind of just move around, because she is a very versatile athlete, and that would probably benefit your offense a little bit more than her just being stuck at quarterback. And so, there's definitely some questions on offense more than on defense, but I think depth more than anything is its bigger enemy, to be honest with you. Now, at 11 is Campbellsville. This is what Cottey has to say about them. Getting 2 more wins over the weekend against a team in Wisconsin feels good, but I hope to see them at the national tournament to really see how they have fared and grown, hopefully, for the talent in the NAIA. By the way, Cottey will be at the national tournament. He'll be there live, covering games live, so that'll be huge. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to make it, which really bummed out about, but, what could you do? So there you go there. But Cottey will be there, and so he's looking forward to see Campbellsville live. With Campbellsville, I'd say their biggest weakness is definitely experience. I mean, they're just a real green team. A lot of these players, they have experience playing football. I'm looking at the Beecher sisters, Angeline and Annalise. They got experience, obviously, playing in Florida. Like Kiros was a teammate with them in high school as well, in Florida. I have a couple Georgia players in there, but the core of this squad is Kentucky players who I don't think had access to women's flag football like that in Kentucky. So I'm thinking about players like J.C. Harper, like Presley Payne, who's been out there, those type of players. And even then, this is a freshman team, This is a freshman team. They have no transfers, no one with postseason experience, and so they're not going to be playing in a conference tournament because they're not in a conference, unfortunately, that has enough teams for women's flag football right now. So we're mostly projecting them for the national tournament here. Going into the national tournament, I think that'll be really good experience for all those players. And so weakness is definitely experience. I'd say one of their strengths would be, I'd say, a little bit offensively. This is I don't even know about that. I think one of their strengths is probably their flexibility. They have shown the ability to kind of, adapt to different situations and whatnot, learn from different situations, especially when they're playing multiple games in a day. They're not going to go winless at the national tournament. I am pretty sure of that, or at least hopefully not. Even if they do, they're going to learn from it and whatnot. I'm definitely more concerned about the experience more than anything. They're pretty solid on defense, solid on offense. Depth could also be another issue there, as a lot of them are playing both ways, and so you do have to figure out some of those things. Plus, at quarterback, I don't know if they really have an established starter that they're just going to roll with for the entire conference tournament. It might be Yaneli Kiros. It might be Marissa Rankin, who's been in there and has had some games and does have some talent too as well. And so we'll see what Campbellsville does, but they definitely have some talent, and they're going to be consistent. I'll say that consistency, and they'll be flexible. They'll learn from mistakes and continue to get better. They have shown to be able to do that a lot this season. Now at 10 is Reinhardt. This is what Cottey has to say. It's been a hot minute since Reinhardt has played, but hopefully they've had more time to soak in the season and prepare for the national tournament that I hope to see them at. This is probably the big turning point in the rankings, where these teams feel more than a season away for competing for conference or national titles. Reinhardt, I do want to say this, they will be joining the Sun Conference next year, and so this year they're not in a conference tournament, which obviously, hurts your experience and all that stuff, just being so far away. Their last regular season game was a couple weeks ago. They'll play here in about a month, and so by the time they play again, it's been over a month. They've had I think they might have the longest gap between playing, so that's definitely a concern. Throw in, experience as well, depth too, at times. They were a little banged up here. I don't know if Joelle Jarrett will come back, so we'll see about that. Carson Paget, I think, should be good to come back. She was an exceptional rusher for them. Definitely somebody that I noticed in the Campbellsville games there. And so this is a Reinhardt team that has some talent. They definitely have some talent kind of spread out around here. Deshae Branham's a great athlete. Nina Johnson has like embarrassed some DBs. And that's no disrespect at all. That's just how good she is. I think her thing is that she just needs to be a little bit more consistent, which you could also tie to quarterback play and whatnot. And so Reinhardt, the strength for them is that they do have a handful of just extremely talented players that are going to turn up and get theirs no matter what, to be honest with you. Now, do they have the depth or experience? No, they don't. Not right now, but, going into this national tournament, it'll be interesting to see what happens because they're not only going to learn, but they're going to continue to get better, just like Campbellsville and all these other young programs as well. But they definitely have a couple of players that have emerged as number one options and, have competed really well against Sun Conference players. And even though they're not winning games, those individual players are still turning up regardless. So there's that, Now, at number 9 is Florida Memorial. This is what Cottey has to say about them. Pushing St. Thomas to the wire means something, with a missed conversion being the difference of tying the game. There's a lot of work to work on prior to the national tournament, especially on the defensive side of the ball against very explosive teams. And it is a bummer to not steal one in the Sun in the Sun Conference this season. And then he said, "Oof." Agreed. I don't think the defense is the bigger issue. I think, if anything, that might be one of the strengths of this team. How should I say this? This is definitely a team that could lock up any team on any given day and do really well. Deja Fanning has been excellent as rusher, as well, one of the rushers. She's really made the job easier for a lot of these teams. And then they have some really talented DBs back there, led by Erica Johnson, in my opinion, who's been excellent as well. Oriana Brooks at linebacker has been really good too, and so this Florida Memorial defense, I would say, is the strength of this squad. There are questions on offense, though. There's questions for sure. They definitely have some receivers who could play. Erica Johnson's one of them. Caleb McDuffie's not bad. Quarterback will be interesting to see what happens. I know the last couple games, Montgomery, the freshman, got a lot of the playing time, and then she was subbed out for the St. Thomas team for Haley Stanton, who didn't do too bad, but is still, in my opinion, maybe a little bit too green. Not too green, just a little bit green here, I would say. Definitely still learning and getting better. The talent is obviously there, but as far as experience go, Haley Stanton has the most experience for this team. Not only was she on a roster, college roster last year for Midland and got playing time as well. I mean, she got the majority of the quarterback snaps this year for Florida Memorial, or at least I'm pretty sure she did. And so it'll be interesting to see whether they go with Stanton or Montgomery at quarterback, or Howell even, or what happens. They'll probably just ride the hot hand, to be honest with you. Because at this point late in the season, you just got to work with what you got, play the best player that's on fire, at least at that moment. And so we'll see what happens for Florida Memorial. Defensively, definitely a strength. Offensively, they are improved compared to last year for sure, I would say. But definitely still some questions, especially at quarterback, which I think is the biggest, weakness right now for this team. Just not knowing, who will be there and who will hold it down. Really, who they will go with going into that game there. So there you go. Now, I will say this about Florida Memorial. They have gotten better after every season, I would say. I'd say last season there were some games that they kind of hung in there with until, maybe halftime, and then teams would really pull away. This season, I feel like there were multiple games where they were maybe 3 or 4 plays, a handful of plays away from winning that game. Not tying it, not being close, but winning that game. I think about that Keiser game at the beginning of the season. I think about Weber, St. Thomas, they should have beat Warner, to be honest with you. There was that as well. Really, pretty much all the Sun Conference games except for their games against Thomas, which is fair, to be honest with you, were games that they could have won. And so this is a team that is a wild card going into the national tournament. I think defensively, you know what to expect. They're going to push you. They're going to make you really uncomfortable. And then it's really just going to be on the offense to keep it going. Score. You got to score. And, keep drives alive and use that clock and all that great stuff. And so they'll have a month to prepare for this tournament, but they are going to be a wild card going into this national tournament. Definitely guarantee that, and in a good way as well. Man, they could ruin some teams' days and weekends. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now at 8 we have Midland. This is what Cottey has to say. Close but no cigar has more or less been how the season has gone for the more competitive teams in the KCAC. That obviously includes Midland. They are leagues closer to competing for the conference than they were last season, but definitely got a rough draw in the first round. But 12-4 with a ton of practice and experience coming from JUCO teams, they have a lot. They've had lots of opportunities to grow. No, absolutely. I think Midland is a squad that is better than what they were last year. Last year, I think Angel Ioane was the starter, but it kind of felt like a shaky decision at times because there were times she would still get, benched and all that stuff. This year, you have Michaela Nunez. I think she's a little bit of a better athlete. She obviously has more experience. She is one of the few seniors on this Midland squad. And that's not a bad thing. That doesn't mean Angel Ioane will never play again. I think she's honestly just another player that needs to sit and just watch and learn and get better because I think she's definitely talented. But Michaela Nunez is at the head for Midland here. Her and Casey Thompson is a great duo on offense. Also throw in some other great players like Alyssa Butler, Emily Farron, Olivia Dominguez-Millsop has made some big plays. Jocelyn Lopez, the running back, has been really big for them. They have a lot of talent and they run pretty deep, to be honest with you as well. And then defensively, Sydney Red, obviously she got kicked out of this last game. We'll see what happens, if she gets suspended or not, or if that's a thing, whatever. For the national tournament, I expect her to play, barring injury, of course, knocking on wood. And so they have her. She's been great. Casey Thompson has been great as well. One of the leaders for the squad, a veteran who knows her way around on offense and defense, has done a good job and whatnot. And then they obviously have a lot of great athletes there. Diva Jones is one that I want to throw out there on defense, playing defense as well. And so Midland is honestly a squad. They're a squad that could upset somebody for sure. Now, they got close to beating Ottawa, and like I said in that segment, I think they really game planned well for them. A lot of credit to Coach Jones and that coaching staff over there. Joe Schlager, their GA over there as well. They did a really good job, I think, game planning for Ottawa. What it came down to was executing more so on offense. And now that you saw that, you saw the defense are running out, hopefully you're a little bit more prepared for that. I'm not talking about coaches, but more so players when it comes to executing and handling that pressure and taking what's there, honestly, as well. That's never a bad thing, to take what's there. You got to stay in it, especially with a team like Ottawa, one of these heavyweight teams. And so Midland, I would say, is another team that could definitely pull out an upset. They have the talent. They're deep. I think their strength for sure. That's a little tough to pinpoint one strength. I think they're definitely deep when it comes to their pass catchers, and offensively, they have the potential to really, tear you apart and do a lot of work. They're going to run a bunch of different things and do their thing there. And then defensively, they also have the potential to lock you up. If we're just looking at this Ottawa game, if they could lock up Ottawa, they could lock up a lot of teams here in not just the KCAC, but the NAIA in general. So there's a lot of potential there. I think their biggest weakness is probably consistency, to be honest with you, on both sides of the ball. Offensively, how clean of a game are they going to play, right? Defensively, are you going to, hold it down for all 4 quarters and play a good straight 4 quarters. Because I know there was that one pass at the beginning where the defender was there to stop Jasmine Camacho. She just missed. You can't have that happen going forward in the postseason. You just can't. You have to make those plays. And you gotta trust yourself to make those plays too. And so consistency on both sides of the ball for Midland is definitely a big thing for them. I think as they've went on throughout the season, they've gained a lot of experience, and that consistency has, gotten better moving forward. But there's probably still a little bit more to be desired for going into the postseason. And so just keep an eye out on Midland. Keep an eye out on Midland for sure. Now at 7, we got Warner. I talked about them a bit here. I'm going to say what Cottey had to say though. He said, you got to feel for this Warner squad that has been hit by the injury bug at the most important position during the most critical time of the season. For a team that seems so poised to take a leap forward, Warner will have to try and get healthy for the national tournament in mid-May, or speed run a ton of development and growth. Yeah, I mean, it sucks, man. I mean, this Warner team was a team that I felt like was a real dark horse, had a real bright future. I'd say around mid-season, I truly felt that they were so deep. And I think that is still one of their strengths, that they are a very deep team. They got a lot of talented players. But without a Madison Tingen, and with some other injuries as well, like to Jenna Marrero, which I'm sure she'll be back by tournament time. National tournament time, that is, because they didn't make the conference tournament. I think their biggest weakness is definitely experience. I mean, you have Cynthia Holmes. She's always going to do her thing. You really don't have to worry about her. You have Trinity Kieran. She's going to do her thing out there. You have a handful of other players as well that are going to do their thing. But the majority, I feel like a big amount of the players that have gotten a lot of snaps on both offense and defense are freshmen. You look at all their quarterbacks they have. They don't have a quarterback that's older than Madison Tingen. They're all freshmen. So this is all their first year. This is all their first postseason. Definitely some concerns about that. I mean, you have a month to really get ready for this and game plan. They're going to need that whole month to really get at it, honestly. And watch film, too. I think watching film is going to be huge for sure. Especially for them, since they just don't have that many reps like a Madison Tingen. And so experience right now is just one of their biggest weakness. I mean, that doesn't just apply to the quarterback position. I'd also say, some of their players on defense as well. They haven't had a great last 2 weeks. Their defense has been pretty bad the last 2 weeks without Madison Tingen in. I know they could play better than that. They could definitely play better than what they have done the last 2 weeks. And so this month will be a good chance for them to kind of just reset it. And then when they play that first drive, that first game in that national tournament, hey, it's almost like it's a new season, right? You have to go in with that mentality with a young squad, and you just got to get back to playing to a higher level, and you just have to play better, but that's what happens when you have younger players out there and whatnot. And so it's going to be interesting to see where this Warner team is at come the national tournament, because right now they are at 7. I don't know if that, accurately displays where they're at, like, potential-wise, because I think at full strength, they're definitely a contender, I would say, or at least a dark horse for sure. But right now, with all the injuries, with how they've played, honestly, the last 2 weeks, we'll have to see what team shows up, in a month from now. I think this month will be key here, and so they are definitely a little hard to project because of the uncertainty, because of how the regular season ended and all that stuff. Moving on to Kansas Wesleyan, though. This is what Cottey had to say. I think this is the best I have felt about this KW unit that has played very well this season. If the tournament seeding is to be consistent, I believe they will draw Midland on Friday eventually, which is a very winnable game, but not one to overlook if they are to secure the ultimate prize, which is an upset over Ottawa in the KCAC Championship. Which, yeah, absolutely agreed on. I mean, a lot of credit to first-year head coach Melinda Wynn. I think out of all the first-year coaches, I mean, she definitely inherited one of the more talented rosters, but she has done an excellent job, and this KW team is dangerous. This is a team that could beat Ottawa. They have the ability to beat him. Now, will they is a whole different question, because if you look at their history, they haven't yet, obviously. And so they got to find a way to get it done, is all I could say at some point. They got to get over the hump at some point, and if they don't, it is what it is, but we'll see. They're going to give it their best shot. Strengths, I would say. I think for once, I would say experience is one of their biggest strengths here. Brianna Hernandez-Silva, 3-year starter. She's been lights out this entire season. She's been fantastic. Their linebacking core, I mean, their defense in general, Angel Roman holding it down at DB. Lexi Marquez and Alexa Mansur holding it down, doing their thing, which has been super key to the squad, by the way. Jada Wilson out there holding it down, and then offensively as well, you have Angel Roman, you have Kendra Velasquez Monroe. I mean, you have so many faces that were here last year, and last year they won the silver bracket tournament, which was pretty good, but they're coming back and they are better this year. They are improved. They got experience. They've been here before, so definitely like that. They're really well-rounded with that too, and they have a good mix here between experienced players and some freshmen, because they have a number of freshmen who have contributed a lot, Rabano and Casillan at rusher. Offensively, Angel Amares has done really well. Shania Marape has done really well for this team. I mean, this is a really well-rounded team. So when it comes to weaknesses, it's definitely a little tough here. I'd say maybe their biggest weakness might be the consistency of their defense. Because offensively, I'm not as concerned about their consistency. I kind of just assume at this point Brianna Hernandez-Silva is going to give it her best shot. As long as she has a chance to win it, she's going to give it her best shot and at least make you sweat it, if not at least find a way to get it done. I mean, just look back at that Midland game near the beginning of the season there, where she led an excellent drive. And so I know she could get it done. Defensively, though, they got to be consistent here. I mean, you got to play a full 4 quarters. You got to lock up a full 4 quarters. You can't allow missed assignments. You just can't have that, moving forward here. And so defensively, I think this Kansas Wesleyan defense is going to mean the difference between a lot of wins and losses going forward into this national tournament, which is a lot of pressure for sure. And, this is the side of the ball where I feel like they have a little bit more, maybe they just have a little bit more inexperience there as well, which might contribute to some of that inconsistency. But just in general, moving forward, I mean, they're gonna be playing some heavyweights. I think they're gonna be in a position to really knock it with the big boys, big girls, and some heavyweights out there. And this defense has to step it up, and they gotta be tight. They gotta hold it down for 4 straight quarters, and be as airtight as possible when playing their defense. So there you go. That's maybe the only concern there. And even then, we'll see. We'll definitely see. I mean, like I said, up to now, they've shown they're a well-rounded team, and so they definitely deserve moving up just a little bit here before the postseason. But here, let's just keep it going here. At 5, we got Weber. This is what Cottey had to say. Outside of a massive win over St. Thomas early in the season, Weber has not shown much to inspire confidence to fire on all cylinders in this tournament. They have to feel good with their win versus Warner to close, but they need to be more consistent and clean with their football, against these other squads that hound and feast on turnovers. Yeah, absolutely agreed here. I'd say right away the biggest weakness for Weber is probably a combination of maybe depth and weakness. I think depth-wise, they have a lot of experience there. If you want to compare it to the depth of other squads, I don't know how well talent-wise they really stack. We'll see. They finally got healthy. I think getting Malia Domingo back will be big for them, so I'm not as concerned about depth. I'm definitely a little bit more concerned about the consistency here. mostly on offense, really. To be honest with you, I think Sam Wilson has really took a step forward this season, has played really well, but I mean, you're going to need more options outside of Brazier Robinson and Caleb Burrows to really make a deep run here. You know, Caitlin Sigmundy has been really good at some points, and then there were some points where, you know, she might have a drop here or there. It happens. It's fine, you know. Same with Emma Blanco, who's been getting a lot of snaps there as well. There are some times where, you know, she makes a great play, and then there are some times where it's like, well, that's an acceptable mistake as a freshman, but a mistake is a mistake regardless. I'm going to throw out Jasmine Henry's name there as well. Definitely another player who has a lot of potential too, and so there's definitely some inexperience there, and you're going to need that depth. You're just going to need that depth if you want to go far, especially, you know, on that offensive side of the football. And so offensively, I would really like to see a little bit more consistency. And then, I mean, defensively, you're going to do what you can and whatnot, but your offense has to keep you in the game too sometimes. So that's definitely something I'm worried about there. But Weber as a whole, I mean, they got some pieces. Like I said, Sam Wilson on any given day could really light up a defense no matter how good they are. She just has the ability to make some great throws, extend plays, all that great stuff. You have Caleb Burrows, who's a legit MVP candidate. As long as she's healthy, she's going to go to work. You know, she's going to be the lead receiver. She's going to be the lead tackler. She's going to force a lot of turnovers and bait you. You know, she's extremely experienced there. Same with Brazier Robinson back there as well. So I think this Weber team is a squad that's going to continue to improve and get better. Do have a lot of seniors, but that's not really a this season problem. That's more of a next season problem, though. But right now, we'll see how this Weber team fares moving forward. I'd definitely like to see just a little bit more consistency from this offense, especially against the better teams here, I would say. Because like it or not, Weber is going to find themselves in a lot of heavyweight fights moving forward. Starting with this post, you know, or this conference tournament here. So, yeah. Now, at 4 is Keiser. This is what Cottey has to say. Still plenty to be happy about at 8-3 and 7-3 in conference for Keiser. But as they slide into third to end the regular season, third in the Sun Conference, it definitely seems that gap in the Sun is not only closed since their inaugural season, but with their offense sputtering against the better teams in conference. They have to go to the drawing board if they want to stand a chance in the Sun tournament. Yeah, I mean, I guess this is an interesting squad to talk about here. I think offensively, I really think if they're on point and super sharp, this is definitely the strength of the team. And if a team wants to get into a shootout, I think at least 7 or 8 out of 10 times they could definitely win a shootout if they get into one. Now, the other thing is that's their potential, right? I think that's their strength, just the firepower they have between Kennedy Foster, Sophia Caprio, Cavallati out there, Adrian Rodriguez, Emma Wagaman, Jasmine Roden, Brenna Ramirez, who's really come on lately, and I think she could have a legendary even postseason turning up with so many teams paying attention to Kennedy Foster. Same with Sophia Caprio, and to be honest with you, there. But I think consistently wise, I'm also concerned about the offense a little bit. I think defensively, this Keiser team has done a solid job. You know, they haven't really found themselves in many shootouts because this Keiser defense has done a good job, you know, shouting out Reagan Pellegrino. Sydney Woodman has been great, even though she did miss a couple games there. But she has been really good. Kennedy Foster at DB is a very good player, you know, one of the best out there. And so, and that's just Samaya Bryant. That's just to name a few players, to be honest with you. This Keiser defense has shown that they can lock up and keep it close. I am a little concerned about this offense, though. I think there are times where they are a little bit boom or bust here. And it's concerning. You know, going into the postseason, you can't afford a bad game. You can't afford a bad game against Ottawa or Thomas or St. Thomas. Even looking at some of these other teams behind them, Weber, I don't know about Warner because they do have some questions at quarterback. I'm looking at Kansas Wesleyan and Midland. I mean, those are probably teams I would love to get into shootouts too. Now can they win them? We'll see. But I am a little bit concerned about the consistency for this Keiser offense here. They've been real boom or bust. So we'll see moving forward. I still think this is a team that could win it all, though. I think this is a team that could win a national championship. We'll see what happens moving forward. And maybe if that means losing the Sun Conference tournament so that maybe it's a little bit more of a wake-up call and you know what mistakes you made and you improve on that in the national tournament, I think they would definitely sacrifice a conference title for a national title. To be the first to do it outside of Ottawa, absolutely. So just keep an eye on Keiser. I know there are concerns about the consistency of their offense. At least that's what I would say. But just keep an eye on Keiser. This defense is really solid, really good. And this offense has the potential to be the best in the entire NAIA, So right now, though, they sit at 4 because of how the season ended and whatnot moving forward. But definitely a heavyweight still. Now at 3, the hottest team, one of the hottest teams in the country, St. Thomas. This is what Cottey had to say. After a shaky 1-3 start, St. Thomas has been on fire heading into the Sun Conference tournament with 10 wins in a row, including not even trailing to Keiser once in their season closer. This St. Thomas team has proven that they can win close games against good teams, and they don't have the same feeling of mediocrity that they gave off last season. Dang, that's tough. Continuing on here. Every team in the Sun Conference tourney needs to be on watch, and every team in the national tournament should be cautious when crossing these Bobcats. Absolutely agreed here. I mean, at the beginning of the season, I think I said something like this St. Thomas defense might be one of the best defenses in the country, at least top 3. And here they are at 3. And I think, I'm really comfortable with saying this St. Thomas defense is one of the strengths for this squad here. They've played great defense the last 2 weeks against Keiser, against Thomas here. I mean, they found a way to get it done on defense. Their defense has won them some games. And I got to shout out these players here. I mean, let's start with Tashumba Washington, right? She's been excellent this season. I think she, for me, is arguably one of the front runners for Defensive Playmaker of the Year, to be honest with you. That's how good she has been this season. You really can't test her deep because she has such great ball skills. She has a great feel for the game here, great instincts out there. I mean, she does a good job. And then when it comes down to strapping up in the red zone, she could go man, and she could lock up one of the best players on offense, for any team, and do a good job and challenge them. It's rare that she ever gets beat, to be honest with you. And obviously, every defender gets beat every now and then. It's not a bad thing to lose, but just how little that happens is insane. And so, Tashumba Washington, huge for the St. Thomas defense. Jada Graham, speedster, huge for this defense. Miranda Fairdes, huge. The other corner out there, she's been big time as well. That's not even talking about Tyler Bryant, who made a big pick against Keiser, an excellent pick against Keiser this last game here. Rayona Baker, she's out there. She's a playmaker on both sides of the ball, I would say, as well. As far as the linebackers goes, Maya Cayon has had a great, honestly, just a really good, she's had a great 2 or 3 weeks here, last 2 or 3 weeks. She's done an excellent job. And then the rusher, Lanaya Leon, a lot of credit to her. She is somebody that I'm pretty positive will make our Final Four when it comes to best rusher in the country, because she has really turned it up another notch this season. This St. Thomas squad is dangerous. And then offensively, I mean, you look at them, they have a lot of talent. A lot of those same playmakers play both ways. And, I mean, they're well-conditioned, so that's never really an issue there. But, I mean, Jada Graham, as arguably the wideout one, is electric. She could bring it to the house. She could break a play off from a 5-yard slant to a 40-yard gain, something like that. That's how dangerous she is. She has game-breaking speed for sure. So definitely dangerous there. Kaylee Miller has been a great second option. She's really thrived, I would say, as teams have paid a little bit more attention to Graham. She has definitely really thrived. I would say she is really dangerous as well. Real shifty, tough to guard, great hands, all of it. Baker, Tyler Bryant as well. That adds a little bit more depth. And then I want to throw this name out there as well. We'll just stop talking about, pass catchers and whatnot. Dominique Parks has been really good as a check down option, as a running back option. Somebody that they could maybe even scheme a little bit more for if they just want to extend drives and all that great stuff. She could get you a first down straight up. Pretty solid hands, good speed, good athleticism. As a freshman, she's really contributed to the squad. And then at quarterback, you have Holly Neer. I mean, one of the few seniors for this squad. She has been really good this season. Definitely improved compared to last season, I would say. So a lot of credit to her for putting in a lot of work this offseason, honestly. Which is kind of crazy to think about because going into this season, she was projected as the backup. But she came in, after that 1-3 start. Really 1-2 start, and she's played really well. Played at a really high level, has shown that she can make all the throws, and really use these weapons, and so she's been really good. Now, when it comes to weaknesses for this team, I would say maybe the consistency of this offense. I think Holly Neer is a true gunslinger, to be honest with you, because there are times where, she could light up a team, any team, and then NAIA for 4 or 5 touchdowns on any given night. But, there are also times where she gets just a little bit too, throw happy, I would say. And, gets a little bit too confident and tries some plays and routes and throws that are not the greatest decision at that moment, and either it's incomplete, which eventually stalls out the drive, or it's a turnover. And so offensively, St. Thomas, you got to take care of the football, and you got to be consistent offensively. That also includes not dropping passes too, because there have been times where this core, they'll have a drive or two where they just drop passes, and it's not great. And so I think the strength for the St. Thomas team for sure is the defense. I think they, on any given night, is one of the best defenses in the country, really. They have that potential, and they have shown that time after time. And then offensively, this is a team that could get into shootouts, but I am concerned about them playing clean, full games going into this postseason. So consistency is definitely something to keep an eye on offensively for St. Thomas. Now, number 2 is Thomas here. This is what Cottey has to say. After being upset by St. Thomas last week, the Nighthawks would go on to win their last 2 games here with a combined 86-0 here, which feels more indicative of the team heading into the tournament. Additionally, they are the Sun Conference regular season champions, which is the main reason they remain here at 2 prior to the tournament. And yeah, no, absolutely agreed. This is actually a team that is really similar to St. Thomas, in my opinion. I think as far as strengths and weaknesses go, strength absolutely is the defense. They could lock you up. They're a team that could give you 3 straight, punts in a row. As a defense, they could force 3 straight punts in a row, 3 straight 3-and-outs in a row at any given time. And they're so deep as well. Aaliyah Wood has been huge for them as a freshman, but you can't forget about Sanaya Glover. She's done her thing. Can't forget about, this is also an experienced squad as well. So experience is definitely not an issue here. Nakara Brown, Kiara Knight at safety has been excellent. Giselle Jones is out there. She's been great. Brittany Delva, the leader for this squad, has been excellent per usual. Janae Scott is one of probably the best linebacker in the country, in my opinion, right now. So there you go. The rusher, Jada Reese, reigning defensive playmaker of the year. She has continued to be excellent and whatnot. Teams do scheme for her a little bit more, but she's still dangerous regardless. And sometimes she still gets hers because this is how good this defense is. They're so complete. This is a defense that I still believe is the best in the country right now. I think Thomas and St. Thomas are both up there. Now, offensively, you have all those same weapons, right? Throwing Margarita Pena as well, Kiana Cole. as well, on the offensive side of the ball, who are both experienced, who have been here before, played in big games before. But you do have a freshman quarterback in Alexa Wilson. And there are times where she's played excellent. She had a little bit of a rough start to the season, but really picked it up, and she got really hot really fast. And then there are times where, you kind of want just a little bit more. You kind of wish that you were a little bit sharper, that you made some passes a little bit better and made some better decisions. And so there are times where she definitely looks like a freshman playing quarterback, which is fine. That's the upside to having a freshman quarterback. I guess upside and downside to having a freshman quarterback. You're getting them developed now. You're getting them good experience right now. And there's going to be games where they're just going to absolutely play lights out. And then there's going to be games where they're just not as good. And unfortunately, when they played St. Thomas, they just weren't as good. Not just her, but I think the offense as a whole just struggled a little bit. But that's how reliant it is on the quarterback, not just this team, but in flag football in general. And so I am a little concerned about the consistency of this offense, which does start with the quarterback. Same with St. Thomas with Holly Neer, who is a senior too, you have to have a consistent quarterback to win this thing regardless. And just looking at it moving forward, what you need 2, 4, 6 solid games in a row, 6 good games. Even honestly, you could get away with playing 2 of them not as well. So really, you need 4 out of 6 really good games left here. That includes, the conference tournament and the national championship here, to first off get to the national championship and then win it, because that is the next step here for Thomas. They've already been there. They're trying to win it. That's what it is right now. And so that's going to hinge on how consistent their offensive unit plays and how well this offense plays against some of these stronger defenses. Sometimes, hey, it's just not going to be there. You have to make the right decision. You have to keep drives alive, Splash plays aren't always the answer. And so you just got to be a little bit sharper and smarter. And, I think her starting this entire season has been really good. She's continued to learn. She's continued to get better. Alexa Wilson, that is, at quarterback. And, there's going to be a lot of pressure there, but I think she is ready for this. And the team in general, it's not just on her. I think they're ready to go into this thing together and go to war. So we'll see about Thomas. This is a squad that... Man, do I want to make a prediction right now? Nah, I'm not going to make one right now, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. So, there you go. Now, at number 1 is Ottawa here. We'll make predictions at a different time, by the way. But anyways, at number 1 is Ottawa. This is what Cottey has to say. Sitting at an unblemished 13-0 and 10-0 in conference, Ottawa has to be feeling good about where they're at. The KCAC tournament feels like it is more up for grabs than ever, with how much closer the other teams have played Ottawa this season. But until they lose, it is hard to imagine moving them down again, which, yeah, agreed. Look, this team is the defending national champs, so I think you could give them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to figure it out no matter what. They're going to figure it out. They're going to win. That is their brand of football. That is Ottawa football. I think that is fair to say. I know someone's out there saying, oh, why are you glazing so hard and whatnot? But you know what? You did not win a national championship. They won not only the last one, but the one before. And they are the only undefeated team in the country right now. So they've earned this. They've earned their respect. Now, when it comes down to it, they got to continue to win. You got to continue to find a way to get it done. So I'd say their strength right now is their experience. Absolutely. I think there's no other team in NAIA women's flag football right now. There's no other team in NAIA women's flag football right now that I would say definitively that their experience is their strength. But it is for Ottawa, extremely well-rounded team. Extremely well-rounded team. So there you go. Now, if there was anything that gave me maybe a little bit of a red flag, I don't want to say weaknesses really here. I would say offensively, I think there are times the offense which is weird because it's basically all the same players. The offense just hasn't looked as smooth at times this season, not as dominant. I feel like they were a lot more dominant last season, maybe. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just misremembering everything from last season. But they just felt a lot more dominant last season. And so, going into this conference tournament and then eventually the national tournament, it's going to be interesting to see how smooth this offense will be moving forward, if there's any hiccups, because as these games go on and they start playing heavyweights, a hiccup is a loss, to be honest with you. So you really got to tighten up, you got to get it together, but you just got to trust this team to figure it out, honestly, even if you do have these doubts, which I do, but at the same time, I believe they're going to find a way to get it done, as they always have so far in basically their entire program history. So there you go. But also, I am just going to throw this out there as well. Every season, they've been, except for this one, they've lost in the regular season at least once. Year 1, they lost to Keiser, I'm pretty sure. But then they beat them in the national championship. Year 2, they lost to Thomas. But then they beat them in the national championship. They also lost to another team. Pretty sure it was Weber as well. This year, they didn't lose to anybody. And so one does have to think, okay, are they going to be ready? Are they going to be ready to play some of these Sun Conference teams who are battle-hardened and, have excellent defenses that consistently challenge each other every single week of the season, basically, because they haven't lost to one of them. And sometimes a loss is more valuable than a win in these things, at least until it comes to the national tournament and we're talking about eliminations. And so we will see about Ottawa moving forward. But right now, I think it's fair to say you just got to believe that they're going to figure it out. That's their culture. That's who they are. They're winners. And they figure it out. And they find a way to get it done. And until they lose, you got to give them that benefit of the doubt. So there you go there. All right, but that'll basically wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for rocking with us. I know this was a long one, but we had a ton of games to cover. And then for power rankings, I really just wanted to talk about every single team at least one more time before we head into the conference tournaments and then eventually the national tournament here next week. Hey, it's an all conference tournament episode. KCAC Sun Conference, we're talking about it. There will be KCAC and Sun Conference Queens royalty crowned next week, and so we'll talk about that for sure. We'll still have a Playmaker of the week, I would say. Might even do 2 for the Sun Conference and the KCAC. I think that'd be really fun to do, so we'll definitely do that as well. We won't talk about power rankings next week because, like I said, this power rankings was the last one until the end of the season, so there you go there. But next week, we will talk about the Final Four for our position awards here, or at least we'll give an update on that. Maybe we'll give it a little bit more time here. But I do want to make sure I talk to Cottey, our NAIA ball guys, as well, before we finalize that Final Four. And then right after that, we're going to open up voting, too, so that we could have a Best Position Awards episode right before the national tournament, which, like I said, I believe is May 18th, if I am not mistaken there. Yep. So a lot more women's flag football content coming up. Should be extremely exciting to cover here, doing all of that great stuff. But thank you so much for supporting us. Show us some love on social media at Playmakers Corner. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok as well. Like I said, if you ever have anything, like any highlights you want us to post, just send us our way and we'll post them where we can. Anything to grow the sport as usual. And yeah, if you want to continue to find updates about when episodes are dropping, awards, because we are going to allow you the fans to vote for these awards as well, so those polls will be dropping here probably next week or the week after. Go ahead and follow us on social media and all of that great stuff. We really appreciate it. And give us a good like, comment, review, whatever, wherever you're listening to this. We really appreciate that. And we will catch you next week, and best of luck to all the squads moving forward.